Hello, Topical, and welcome back to the NBA podcast that, well, it's probably on its season finale, to be honest. We conclude our season even later than the NBA, apparently, with that awards show. It's July 2nd, and today we're going to be talking about our final awards breakdown, because we held that off long enough for you guys. Additionally, we're going to be touching on some free agency news, which we luckily get to do because, well, it seems like the free agency started off with quite a few bangs. Getting the fireworks ready for 4th of July, really. But yeah, it seems like everyone's signing all at once, and I guess they did it for the podcast. So now we have plenty to talk about there. And yeah, beyond that, well, we'll see how many hours we're at, frankly. Because if you've been following the podcast at all, you know that we can talk forever about very minute things. So shouldn't have any problem discussing the NBA Finals. Well, not the NBA Finals, what am I talking about? Just the NBA finale. Let's go with that. So, Aradh, are you excited?
Yes, indeed. Definitely looking forward to touching on some of this stuff about the Lakers and LeBron and the future in the next few years in the NBA, because I think in a couple of years when everyone's looking back on, with the state of the NBA, I think this is going to be one of the critical free agencies that people are going to look at in addition to the Kevin Durant signing a couple of years ago. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and just so we're not going to bury the lead with this, obviously the big draw being the NBA free agency, I think we're just going to give like a quick thumbs up or thumbs down, or actually, no, you know what? This is more interesting. So I actually created a new system for ranking things called the 5 out of 3 stars. And basically how it works is 3 out of 3 stars is meeting your expectations. So basically what 5 out of 5 stars would normally be for people. And then the 5 out of 3 stars is what what it is for people when they're like, oh, it's 10 out of 5 stars, ooh, or oh, it's 100 stars. So that could be interesting to try here. So I think what could be interesting is just here. Let me pull up a free agency tracker, and I can just go down the list of all the people that have signed so far, and just we can give our star rating, and then we can talk about it later.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, let's see how fast I can get this pulled up, and it's up. Okay, good. Okay, so I'll just start from the top. No, I'm not going to start from the top, actually. I'm going to start from the bottom, because, might as well leave LeBron James for last. So, starting with JaVale McGee, I'll give this, that's actually tough. I'll give it a 3 out of 5 stars, or 3 out of 3 stars.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4 simply because I was happy that he left the Warriors.
Yep.
So yeah.
Okay. Then we have Doug McDermott. I'll give this a 4 out of 3. I think this is pretty good for the Pacers, and it gives them a lot of good. Well, just in case. Oh wait, I can't talk about it. That's right. Just 4 out of 3 stars.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4 out of 3 as well. I think he's going to be a really good fit next to Victor Oladipo, and hopefully he can finally start to meet some of the expectations that have been following him. He's been kind of a disappointment with recent few years with I guess the Knicks and the Thunder. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Then we have Mario Hezonja. I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 3 stars. I think he's a perfect fit for the Knicks with his his antics.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3. I it didn't really move me at all because I think Hezonja is, at this point, I think most of us are comfortable calling him a bust. The draft that he came with, Karl Anthony Towns, and then he's just nowhere near as good as the rest of them. So.
Yep. Okay. Then we have Lance Stevenson.
I personally, I'll give that a 5 out of 3. I really, really enjoyed that. I think it'll be wonderful to see him play alongside LeBron and to have Lance under the big stage in LA. I think it'll be very entertaining.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's gonna be fascinating. I'll second that 5 out of 3. Okay. Then we have Marco Belinelli. I'm gonna give this a 2 out of 3 stars because I don't really remember who he is.
I'll give it a 3 out of 3. He played for the Sixers this year. He's kind of known for, he did this one play one time where he was playing Charlotte where he shot a game-winning 3, but to inbound the ball, he bounced it off the opponent's back, and then he caught it, and then he shot it. And just crazy stuff. But he used to play for the Spurs. I think he might have a championship ring from 2014. So I think it's cool to see him go back. Popovich always does great with international players. So I'll give it a 3 just because I think it's good for the Spurs.
Okay. Then we have Jeremy Grant, who I often petitioned for starting over Carmelo Anthony in the playoffs, and since he's on a good contract, I'll give this a 4 out of 3 for the Thunder. Good deal.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4 as well. It's good to see that their roster is going to have something other than Carmelo Anthony at that forward position. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, then we have Ed Davis going from the Trailblazers to the Nets, following a big trend of Trailblazers and Nets players switching between them for some reason. He got super underpaid, actually, so I'm going to give this a 2 out of 3. I think he deserved more money for how well he anchored the defense.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 2 as well. I didn't really want to see him leave Portland. He was a really good center for them. He was really close with CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard. And he's only making $4.4 million, so he's basically playing for the minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have Aron Baynes sticking with the Celtics. I'll give this a 2 out of 3 just because it doesn't move the needle at all with me. I don't really know what to think.
Same. I'll give it a 2 out of 3. It didn't really matter much.
Okay. Then we have Ersan Ilyasova. I'll give this a 3 out of 3. It seems like a good fit for him going from the 76ers to the Bucks.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3 out of 3 as well. It will continue the trend with long international players. It's cool. So.
Yeah, and just for you, for this next one, Dirk Nowitzki, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 3 just because he's playing again on a $5 million deal.
Yeah, 5 out of 3 as well for me. I'm glad to see that Dirk's still taking pay cuts to make the Mavericks roster better for no reason. But, at least they got DeAndre Jordan.
Yep. Then we have Nerlens Noel. I'm actually going to give this a 1 out of 3 because I think he's getting severely underpaid here.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 1 as well. Not only because it's not because of the payment, because he is being underpaid, I think. I know he's had some down years with injuries, but healthy, he's an extremely good rim protector and rebounder. So if you're going to pay him at all, I feel like you should be willing to pay him more because you're sort of taking a chance that he'll be healthy and be able to help you. But I also give it a 1 because I think it's going to be kind of an issue having to play him with Steven Adams at the same time. Because obviously both are not productive to spacing the floor at all. And also his injury history makes it questionable. You're going to have to play him as a backup probably behind Steven Adams. And that's just not suited for his – I don't know. It's a shame to see a young player like that. He's only like 23 or 24. A 1 for me as well.
Yep. Then we have Alfred Payton, who's surprisingly ranked above Dirk Nowitzki this year. Him signing with a $2.7 million deal with the Trailblazers, why I say that, the Pelicans. And yeah, this is a 2 out of 3 for me. It just doesn't move the needle. I don't really care about him aside from his haircut.
I'm actually going to give it a 1 simply because I just feel like he's not conducive to what the Pelicans need to do at all. Pelicans need spacers and shooters. He's just not what they need right now. I just don't think that he's going to be of any use there besides Anthony Davis, and I really don't understand the signing. I think it's just kind of a waste of money.
Yep. Then we have number 29, Joe Harris, signing for a 2-year, $16 million deal with the Nets. I'll give this a 4 out of 3 stars. I'm pretty happy for him. He had a lost year in 2017, didn't play at all. So, yeah, good for him coming back, playing well last year, and getting himself a contract.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3 out of 3 simply because it's a good story, but at the same time, I don't really know too much about him, so it didn't really change much for me. But yeah, it's good for him.
Okay. Then we have number 27, Rudy Gay, re-signing with the Spurs for $10 million. I'll give this a 3 out of 3. I don't really care about this.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3 just because I think it's a good deal. He's not being massively overpaid, not being massively underpaid. And it's good for the Spurs just to be able to keep some players because, I think that this group, now that they're probably, depending on what happens with Kawhi that they've had this year without Kawhi, can kind of have a second year to regroup and be together still. And, winning 47 games without him was pretty good for them, probably as a unit, learning to play together. So I think it'll be good for them.
Yep. Okay, then we have number 26, Kentavious CaldwellPope, re-signing with the Lakers. Didn't even know he was on the Lakers, but apparently that was a thing last year for $12 million. I'm going to give this a 1 out of 3. I don't think this is a good deal for him. I don't think Kentavious CaldwellPope is a very good player at all.
I'm actually going to give it a 3 because Kentavious, from what I know, I think he was overpaid last year. He played 1 year for the Lakers, an $18 million deal. He ended up averaging about 13 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and he gave some pretty solid defense as well, while also being a 38% three-point shooter. So I think he's actually a pretty good fit for what they're doing. I would have liked to see him for a little bit less, which is why I'm not going to give it a 4 or anything. But I think that his play style is very suited for what they're looking to do with LeBron. He's a 3-and-D guy who I think can definitely, that's the best type of player to play alongside LeBron. So I would have liked to see them get him for maybe like 9 or 10 million as opposed to 12 to 13, but I still think it's fine. So I'll give it a 3.
Yeah, and actually I think I was evaluating it based on if he was the starting point guard, which he's probably going to be like the third string. So fair enough.
He's a he's their backup shooting guard, I believe. Actually, he's like 6'5".
Huh.
So,
Okay, I guess I just don't know anything about him then. Okay, then we have Rajon Rondo at 23. In terms of Rondo, really wanted him to go to the Jazz, so I'm going to give it a 1 out of 3 in that respect. But him going to the Lakers, I think it's an excellent signing, having two amazing passing point guards, so 4 out of 3 for them.
yeah, I'm going to give it this a 3 out of 3, not a 4, simply because I think it's going to be weird with Lonzo and Rajon Rondo, simply because neither of them can shoot. It's going to be interesting to see how you have two non-shooting point guards who both really can't play the 2 guard playing alongside LeBron. But as far as fit is really the concern. But as far as Rondo, like I think it's cool to see him on a big stage, and I also think it's pretty cool that he's probably like his 2 most successful spots at the end of his career will have been in Boston and Los Angeles, which I think will be a pretty cool story. So yeah, I'll give it a 3.
Yeah, could turn this into the best passing team in the league, frankly. Then we have Fred VanVleet re-signing with the Raptors for a 2-year, $18 million deal. I'll give it a 4 out of 3. I'm pretty proud of him. He did amazing on the bench mob, and he earned his money.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4 out of 3 as well. He's a great story. Probably the 3rd best player on the Raptors, if we're really thinking about it. But
yeah,
he stepped up huge, and he was undrafted, so it's great to see that this worked out for him.
Okay, then we have number 19, Will Barton, re-signing with the Nuggets for a 4-year, $54 million deal. To be honest, I think he got a little underpaid here, but I don't know if he could have made any more on the market. If the Nuggets had gotten LeBron from this, I would have given it like a 5 out of 3, but I'll just give it a 3 out of 3. I feel bad for the guy, to be honest.
I'll give it a 3 out of 3. I think it's a shame. He's probably worth more than that, especially when you consider Alan Crabb is making
Yes.
It's just absurd. He's a good defender, and he provides a lot of good energy. Almost won a dunk contest, I believe, two years ago, maybe. And yeah, it was just a 3, only because I'm glad he stayed with the Nuggets, because I would like for the Nuggets to be good. But at the same time, I think he got underpaid, so I can't say that it's anything I was too excited about.
Yep. Okay. Then we have number 13, Derrick Favors. I'll give us a 4 out of 3 for him re-signing with the Jazz on a 2-year, $26 million deal. He's a great fit on the team, great player, and wasn't even too expensive.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4 as well. I'm glad. I want the Jazz core to stick together. So I'm glad he didn't leave. I think that would have been kind of a blow, and that would have I wouldn't necessarily say that it would stunt their growth or take them back necessarily. I just don't think that it would have really helped for next year. It would have made things just a little bit more difficult, and it would have to make everyone else pick up some slack. So it's good that he stayed to keep them together.
Okay. Then we have number 12, Trevor Ariza, in the surprise move of the NBA free agency so far, moving from the Rockets to the Suns on a 1-year, $15 million deal. We're definitely going to be talking about this more later, but for now I'll give it a 4 out of 3 just because he didn't get a 1-year player option for his second year.
Yeah, I'm actually going to give it a 2 because I didn't I really wanted to see him on the Rockets. I think that he's going to be a really underrated loss for them because he's sort of in terms of their Clint Capella is obviously the 3rd best player, but in terms of importance to what they do in their identity, I feel like Trevor Ariza was sort of he was the representation of every player that's not a star on that team. As far as there's him and there's Eric Gordon and then there's Nene and there's everyone else on that roster. I just feel like 3-D was he was. His worth in the playoffs was amazing, and obviously he's kind of the reason that they lost because of his poor performances in the last 2 games. But still, his 3-D fit next to James Harden and Chris Paul. I've gotten really accustomed to seeing him there the past few years, and I really liked him there as a fit. I thought he was a great shooter and great defender. He did an excellent job on Kevin Durant, did everything he could. So I think it's going to be difficult for the Rockets to bounce back from losing him because now they're just stuck with Luka Mbah-a-Moute, who's just not playable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was disappointed to see it. I wanted the Rockets to be good. I feel like this is gonna, I feel like this is probably gonna cost them maybe 3 to 4 wins, which obviously is gonna matter in the crazy Western Conference. So simply because I like the Rockets, I was sad to see this, especially for him to go to the Suns, who probably won't make the playoffs for another year or 2.
Yeah.
But he got his money though, which is good for him. $15 million for a player of his caliber is actually really good.
Yeah, and for me, with Trevor Ariza, I've just been following his career for so long that I'm just happy to see him finally getting an opportunity to really take the reins, and if not take the reins from Devin Booker, then at least be a solid 2 guy on the team. Okay.
Yeah, he'll probably be their second or third option.
I would hope so. Don't let it be Dragan Bender.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Then we have J.J. Redick re-signing with the 76ers on a 1-year deal that apparently is either 12 or 13 million. I guess I don't really know. I'm going to give us a free out of free. I don't really know what to think about this, but it is a good deal.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 3, not because of the fit or anything, because I think it's fantastic that he stayed there, but just because I would have preferred to see him somewhere else, preferably with LeBron. I just think that Redick is one of those players similar to like Shane Battier, Kyle Korver, etc., that is sort of whose game is literally perfect for LeBron. Just your ultimate catch and shoot players who can get hot and give you like 6 to 7 threes in an important game. He did that a lot back in Orlando, one of the reasons that they were able to make it all the way to the finals in 2009 and all that stuff. So if he was even drafted then, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. But yeah, I just would have preferred to see him somewhere else, but 2 out of 3 for me.
Yep. Okay. Then we have, oh, that's vacuum. I was super confused what that noise was. So,
I'm sorry, say that again?
Yeah, I was super confused what that noise was. Good call to shut that door.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so at number 8, we have Aaron Gordon. I'm a little amazed that he's ranked this highly on the list, but he did have an amazing, basically 2017 part of the season. Pretty bad rest of the season, but, when you're a dunk contest champion, or at least he should be, then I guess you can get away with getting a 4-year, $84 million deal to remain with the Magic. They didn't really have much of a choice, and they need something to anchor the team.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3 just because I don't really care that much. It's just like, it would have been cool to see him go somewhere else, but the Magic, if he wasn't on the Magic, they literally had nothing, so.
Yeah, and to a certain point, you have to match the salary for it. You can't just spend like $50 million. You gotta actually get up there.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we've got number 7, DeAndre Jordan, finally paying amends for his whole moratorium fiasco 3 years ago and heading to the Mavericks on a 1-year, $24 million deal. I think this is pretty good for the Mavericks that they managed to convince him on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I like it as well. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 3 just because, DeAndre Jordan and Dirk Nowitzki probably could have done some damage to the front court if this was like 2013. So it's cool to be able to think about that. And also, I like DeAndre Jordan as a player. He seems like a really cool guy. So I'm just happy that he finally got where he wanted to go. And it's a shame that he had to waste 3 extra years with the Clippers when he probably didn't really want to. But, it is what it is. So I'm happy for him. So I'll give it a 4.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4 out of 3 as well. Okay, then we jump up to number 4 on the free agency list. Chris Paul re-signing with the Houston Rockets for a 4-year, $160 million deal, just below the max contract, obviously. So, it's a good deal for the Rockets, but I question their chances of making the conference finals in the next couple of years. So, I don't know, that might hamstring them a little bit, especially when Chris Paul wants to trade out of there if they don't do well. So, I'll give it a 3 out of 3.
I like that pun of yours, hamstring.
Yes, I wish I intended that.
Oh, wow, that's great that you didn't mean to. But yeah, I'll give it a 3 for a couple of reasons, actually. We'll talk about this later when we explore these more deeply. But, Chris Paul is getting paid more than LeBron James. That's absurd. And also, 160 for a player that's that old is kind of a problem, in my opinion. And also, it's nice that they compromised because obviously the Rockets wanted to offer him a 3-year deal and then he wanted the 5-year Supermax deal. But, they weren't able to do that. So, it's nice that Chris Paul is getting paid, already one of the wealthiest NBA players. So, it's good to see that he's able to continue that and make some more money. As far as the Rockets' future goes, I think this was actually a pretty bad decision because he's going to be like 36 or 37 years old making, absurd amounts of money. So, we'll see.
I would be surprised if he finished this contract, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they'll probably end up buying him out or selling him out somewhere. Once he finishes 2 years, they'll probably try to trade him away or, stretch him or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Then we have Paul George at number 3, surprisingly ranked above Chris Paul, but whatever. Re-signing with the Thunder on a 4-year, $137 million deal and really putting the ink on that tax bill that they're going to be paying. I'd be curious to actually read how big the luxury tax is going to be on them. I saw one figure that was like $50 million, but that sounds absolutely insane. But the Thunder didn't really have a choice here, so I'll give it just despite Sam Presti, I'll give it a 2 out of 3. You shouldn't have traded for him in the first place.
Yeah, I'm going to give this a 1, simply because this makes no sense at all for Paul George's career. he's basically going to be spending the next 4 years or 3 years, I guess, with the player option on the last year. He's basically going to be wasting his prime away next to Russell Westbrook, who's just never going to get him anywhere past the second round. So, I mean, it just didn't make any sense, not financially, not for anything, because here's the thing. Like, he could have signed the 5 – because he was traded from the Pacers, he was still coming off his original contract. What he would be able to do is do the 2-year plus 1, like 2 years on his contract plus a player option for the third year, because then he'll have reached 10 years of NBA service time and he can sign a longer extension in a contract. Then he can end up being eligible for the 7-year, or like whatever it is, like 5-year, and then like 7-year, $290 million thing that like the same thing that like James Harden did, where he's able to get like a 6-year extension with $226 million, whatever it is. He would have been able to do something similar to that. So it didn't make sense because he was basically unable to do that. And then the other reason that it didn't make sense is because now next year he won't be able to be a free agent at the same time where Klay Thompson, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, and Jimmy Butler will all be free agents. And after his third year, right, Russell Westbrook will be like 32 years old. His athleticism will start waning probably. And like it really just didn't make sense. And also he could have signed this exact same contract with the Lakers, 4 years, $137 million, and then they also would have been able to sign LeBron. So, I mean, to me, it really just didn't make any sense. Though I guess really the only reason he ended up doing it was because of his relationship with Russell Westbrook. So just because I really didn't like the move, and I don't think it makes any sense for anyone involved, not the Thunder, not Paul George. So I'm going to give it a 1.
Yeah, fair enough. Honestly, I wonder if Russell Westbrook just would have broken down Sam Presti's door if he hadn't done something. I couldn't imagine him being on an actual rebuilding team, not like the 2016 Thunder. Okay.
Yeah.
Then we have the number 2 free agent, Kevin Durant, finally solidifying the debate around who's the better player between him and LeBron. So he actually signed for a 1-and-1 deal worth $61 million with the Warriors, and obviously it's good for the Warriors because he took less than what he could have gotten, but, you know, it's kind of is what it is. I'll give it a 3 out of 3.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3 out of 3 as well. I actually really like this deal because this signals to me that he's not committed to a long-term whatsoever, which basically signals to me that this will one day come to an end. So, it basically gave me a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel because I think he's probably going to end up leaving next year. I think what will happen next year is they'll probably get to either the conference finals or the finals. I don't think that they'll repeat because I think they're exhausted at this point. And then I think after they lose finally, I think he's just going to take his talent somewhere else, potentially to Los Angeles to play alongside LeBron in 2019, potentially to his hometown of Washington, D.C. So I think this will be interesting. So I like that he did this. I'll give it a 3 out of 3.
Okay. And then we have the final free agency deal, and I'm going to put the hammer down right now. We can only give the star rating. We're not going to talk about this at all until later. We have LeBron James moving from the Cavaliers to the Lakers. Oh my God, the Lakers.
I'm going to give it a 3. 3.
I'm going to give it a -1. Oh, I hate this deal so much.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it made too much sense. But yeah, we're not talking about it anymore because we'll end up talking about it for forever.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, for anyone that was curious to see what it'd be like if the podcast was 30 minutes long or something, that's pretty much what it would be like. So you can see why it's a lot more interesting to get into the weeds a little bit. So there you go. Okay. Well, I guess we can get back into our regular discussion on the awards season. So that was a thing that happened. Did you watch the actual award show?
I watched the end of it. I didn't catch most of it. The only awards that I saw presented were MVP and I think it was Sixth Man of the Year, maybe. Or whichever one came right before that. I can't remember. The award show was, the concept is really dumb because, everybody's perception changes by the time the award show is done. All the voters have to submit their ballot 4 days after the regular season ends, so I don't understand why this award show can't be in between the regular season and the playoffs because it would just make it a lot easier, make it a lot better. I guess the alternative solution would be also to award an NBA playoff MVP. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, and I certainly didn't watch it. I didn't really see a use in doing that. I actually watched the draft this year, which was definitely interesting, and I guess we'll have to touch on that a little bit as well. But yeah, it is what it is. And I guess I didn't like the system of announcing the awards at press conferences in between conference semifinal games. Okay. Well,
so I think we missed this on the free agency list because this isn't really recent, but Julius Randle signed with the New Orleans Pelicans.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna throw some shade at CBS Sports. You guys are screwing over the podcast here. Come on.
That's 2 years, $18 million. So I'm going to give that a 3 out of 3. Actually, I'm going to give that a 2 out of 3 because I think that's underpaying him a little bit. He was only one of like 5 players to average 19 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists, and he was the only one to do it on 55% shooting. So only $18 million for him seems a little bit strange, seeing as Rajon Rondo is making that same amount yearly. So yeah, I'm going to give that a 2 out of 3.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize he had 9 rebounds per game. That was pretty good. Yeah, I'll give that a 2 out of 3 as well, looking out for the player there.
Yeah.
All right, good catch. All right. Well,
Yeah,
now we can get into awards. So, obviously, we talked about our MVP, Rookie of the Year, and Defensive Player of the Year selections last podcast because you already knew them based on our All-NBA discussion. So, in this podcast, we're going to be talking about all the other awards. We're going to be talking about the Sixth Man of the Year. We're going to be talking about the Most Improved Player, the Coach of the Year, the Executive of the Year. And then we're just basically going to run through all of the other awards and, I don't know, throw out who we would have named for it if we even have any ideas, and if not, just pick between the nominees that they had up there. All right. So where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the plays that they had? Do you like the best dunk of the year and whatnot? Do you want to start with the big awards? Do you want to start with the, I don't know, executive of the year randomly?
Yeah, I think we could just I think we should go for the smaller things like play of the year, dunk of the year, all that stuff first, and then we can work our way up to the bigger awards.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me pull up the complete list of award winners here. Okay. So I guess let's see, which one should we start with? Should we start with? No, we're not going to start with play of the year. That's way bigger. Let's do clutch shot of the year, second to last, dunk of the year. Okay, let's do this. We'll start with best style because that's a stupid award, and I don't think either of us have very much of an opinion on this. I definitely don't. You've seen my fashion choices, but so I'm trying to think of something super nondescript about what they wear. I don't know. I'll give it to Alfred Payton for no reason, just because of his haircut, because that's the only person I can think of aside from Russell Westbrook looking like an idiot whenever he walks onto the NBA court.
Yeah, I mean, style-wise, I'll give it to LeBron. I like his look in terms of, like, he keeps it classy. He bought his teammates suits and stuff. So, I mean, he also has, like, I don't know, he wears cool shirts sometimes. So I'll just give it to LeBron.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, then we have handle of the year going to the person who, I guess, had the best dribble move ever. The play that always comes to everyone's mind when you talk about handle of the year is Steph Curry 3 years ago against the Clippers, just dribbling between like 2 players' legs and like around another person and just dribbling everywhere and then shooting a free to end it all. So for handle of the year, we have the nominees Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kemba Walker, Josh Jackson. I don't remember what he did for that. And Chris Paul, and now I'm severely regretting not actually watching these plays ahead of time, so I have absolutely no idea what any of these plays are. I'm going to go for Kyrie Irving just because, well, he won it, so it must have been pretty good, but I know he has pretty good handles.
So for me, I remember the Josh Jackson I think he was playing the Hawks, and then he had like a hesitation dribble between the legs, and someone just went sliding, broke his ankles. James Harden's was very similar. I'm sure you remember the Wesley Johnson play, and then he stared him down from Wesley Johnson was on the floor, and then James Harden waited for a very long time, and then he shot the 3. Kyrie Irving, he was doing a bunch of dribble crazy crossover stuff, and then he did like a spin move, and then he shot a floater. He was playing the Bucks, and then I think Chris Paul's was probably just a behind the back dribble that broke someone's ankles. I can't remember, but for me personally, in terms of the actual handle of the year, just based on how memorable it was, I'm gonna go with James Harden just because when he broke Wesley Johnson's ankles and he did the between the leg move, he stood there, he stared at him, he licked his lips, and then he waited for him to get up, and then he waited for someone else to come contest the shot before he shot it, and then he made it. And I'll always remember that play as being probably the most vicious crossover I've ever seen because it actually looked like Wesley Johnson, it really looked like a genuine slide and there was no push off involved. I really didn't feel like there was anything like that. Whereas Kyrie Irving's, I feel like his handle was amazing, but I feel like the shot that he got out of it, he had to shoot a contested floater that barely dropped in, and he even had to chase the ball after he shot his shot. So I just feel like that it didn't his dribbling in that play didn't really do anything that was helpful to him because it really didn't help him get more open for a shot. I just feel like it was unnecessary. So in terms of what it resulted in, I just think Harden's was more impressive from that perspective. If you actually look at like how much dribbling they're doing, then it's Kyrie. But for me, I think it's Harden just because of one, how memorable it was, and because of what it resulted in.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't really have much of an opinion on any of these, except for Assist of the Year, which I do have a strong opinion on because I actually saw this play by LeBron James and am easily going to give it to him. It was one of the best passes I've ever seen, basically passing between one person's legs and around the other person and somehow finding. It was basically like a no-look pass also. It's behind the back, and it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. I give it to LeBron as well.
Okay.
That was you're talking about the one that was like
yeah, against the Pistons, I think maybe.
Was it the Lakers, right?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it was the Lakers. Here, I'll look up assist.
It was with the no look down to Ante Zizic when he like froze the defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was against the Lakers.
Oh,
but
okay.
Yeah, I picked that play as well. That was mesmerizing pass to watch.
Yep.
So I'm gonna give it to LeBron as well.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm just looking at this Giannis play now. I mean, it's just like basically a center snapping the ball in football. That's nothing impressive at all. Okay. So then we have the block of the year, and I didn't see any of these plays actually. So I'm gonna give some love to Kristaps.
Was it block of the year?
Yes, and I didn't see a single one of these plays. So
who are the candidates? Embiid, Gobert, and Kristaps.
Yeah, the candidates are Anthony Davis, Kristaps, Giannis, Bam Adebayo, and Marquise Chris, and I didn't see a single one, so I'm just going to go for Kristaps. Maybe it was good.
Yeah, I think I'll give it to Embiid. Is he on the candidates?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, is he? No, he's not, sorry.
Oh, could you repeat their names again?
Yeah, sure. Anthony Davis, Kristaps, Giannis, Bam Adebayo, and Marquise Chris.
And this is for dunk of the year?
Yeah, dunk of the year. Oh, sorry, block of the year. Sorry, Jesus Christ.
So, right? Block of the year.
Yes.
Okay, block of the year, I'll pick Anthony Davis just because I know he led the league in blocks.
Okay. Well, now that was over, we can get on to dunk of the year. Also, surprisingly not having Embiid actually usually does make better plays, but this one has Giannis, LeBron James, DeMar DeRozan, Larry Nance, and Donovan Mitchell. And,
I'm going to give mine to Giannis because he jumped clean over a 6'6" Tim Hardaway Jr. I just think it was the most incredible display of leaping I've seen in quite a long time. So I'm going to give it to Giannis.
Okay, I'm going to give it to Vince Carter for the dunk of death because I didn't see any of these plays. I might as well just shout out something.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have the clutch shot of the year, and the candidates here are LeBron James, Andrew Wiggins, Damian Lillard, Terry Rozier, and Devin Booker. I'm assuming the LeBron James one is talking about the clutch shot against the Wizards, but I don't know. I might be talking about some complete.
It was the buzzer beater against the Timberwolves.
Yep. Okay. Completely different one. So obviously I didn't see this, but I'll just give it to LeBron. So this will probably be the last time I'm supporting him in his career.
I'm going to give it to LeBron as well, simply because the fadeaway, it was a difficult shot. He was being defended by Jimmy Butler. It was nothing but net. It was end of the clock, nothing else, tie game, winner overtime. So it was cool to see that. And also just the other shots, I've seen the other ones. And Devin Booker's Suns games were meaningless. Terry Rozier, I mean, it was Terry Rozier. Dame Lillard, I actually don't remember his one. And then Andrew Wiggins was a bank shot, which was kind of annoying. So, yeah.
Okay. And then we have Play of the Year, which is just voting between the 5 different awards that were given previously. And since I only saw the Assist of the Year, I'm just going to give it to LeBron James on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to LeBron as well. And I think you can take your pick between Assist of the Year and Clutch Play of the Year. I think they were both phenomenal. So, yeah, I'm going to go with LeBron as well.
Okay, great. Well, we're almost through the really boring ones that we have almost no opinion on. So next we have the NBA Cares Community Assist Award. And here, apparently the winner was Kevin Durant, and since I don't know what anyone did this season, I'm just going to go back to DeMarcus Cousins being amazing in the community like 2 years ago and in Sacramento and donating like something like $1.2 million to some local charity and trying to keep it a secret because he didn't want press about it, and I thought that was absolutely incredible. And makes me really like DeMarcus Cousins as a player. So I'm just going to give him a shout out there because I don't know what happened this year in terms of community assists.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Kevin Durant because I think what he did was he gave a lot of money, I think, to Washington D.C. schools to build schools or help underprivileged kids or something like that. I don't remember how much. I think maybe it was $14 million. So that's a lot of money. So
oh wow, holy crap! That is a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Kevin Durant just because that was a very nice thing to do.
Yeah, for those poor, underprivileged Washington D.C. kids. Oh no.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I don't think there's any poverty in Washington, D.C. I grew up in the shadow of there, and essentially every county surrounding Washington, D.C. is one of the richest in the entire country. Fairfax County, Montgomery County, Howard County. So, don't really know what schools he was funding. Maybe he was helped building a third floor in a couple of them, but yeah.
It might have been where he went, like wherever he went to school.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. And then we have the Tweeman Stokes Teammate of the Year award, where once again we don't have much of an opinion. Probably, I don't know. Maybe you do. And I don't know. I guess I'll give it to Trevor Ariza just because why not?
Yeah, I'll give it to Lance Stevenson. Why not? I like Lance. He's funny, entertaining. He did a lot for the Pacers, I guess, identity. So I'll give it to him.
Yeah. Okay, and it looks like it's just a bunch of no names all across the vote totals. So, yeah, I guess it's fine if Jamal Crawford won. He certainly didn't have a very good year, which sucks because he usually does. But at least he got some award out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have the Lifetime Achievement Award, and this one actually is interesting. I think we could have an opinion on this. Basically, this just goes to a player's lifetime contribution to the NBA and its surrounding influence in the world. And I'm trying to think of somebody good here. You know what? I'm going to give it to Charles Barkley for being one of the biggest personalities in the surrounding NBA media and really driving a lot of attention to it. And yeah, I know that's not really the spirit of the Lifetime Achievement Award. You're supposed to give it to somebody who's on their deathbed, and so they have something, and we can have a heartwarming scene of Bill Russell limping across the stage. But yeah, I'm going to give it to him.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Dikembe Mutombo just because I watched the award show when they were giving him the award, and what he did was actually pretty moving. He's donating a lot of money to build some hospitals and stuff, and he's doing it all in honor of his mom who passed away. So I just thought it was a great story, and it was heartwarming to watch. So I'll give it to him.
Yeah, and I think he ended up winning the Sager Strong Award actually, but he can win that one too.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay, no, you're right. My bad.
Yeah, and I guess I'll give Dikembe the Sager Strong Award. Why not? I mean, to come out of the DRC and actually be productive is incredible. The Democratic Republic of the Congo is one of the worst countries to live in the entire world. It's incredibly war-torn. I actually watched the Vice Guide to the Congo a couple of weeks ago, and it was absolutely insane looking at some of the footage from the Eastern Congo and just how destroyed it is, even still after the African World War, which nobody talks about, but there was a massive world war that happened in Africa in the 1990s. Nobody talks about it. Like, something like not 100 million, like 20 million people died in that. Nobody knows about that. They're just like, ooh, Rwandan genocide. But, a lot more stuff happened in the following 5 years, and I guess everyone was busy in Bosnia and Herzegovina studying that war, where, 10,000 people died, or what, I don't know. Maybe that's insensitive. Maybe someone's listening whose grandfather died in the Bosnian Wars, and I don't know. Go to the soup can exhibit in where is it? Sarajevo. That's interesting. But yeah, that's essentially the only memorabilia from the Bosnian Wars, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo has the entire government infrastructure in shambles thanks to it. So yeah, good for Dikembe really paying it back. All right, then we have the NBA Sportsmanship Award, and I'm actually going to coin right now the NBA Least Sportsmanship Award, and I'm going to give that to John Wall, just because, screw John Wall, and I don't know if it was a bad game or something, but I watched one game of him this season in the NBA playoffs, the first game against the Raptors. He was the biggest you-know-what out there, and it was horrible to watch, so yeah, I'm going to say no sportsmanship for him, and I don't know, maybe we can call it the Talking the Ref's Ears Off Award. But yeah, the NBA Sportsmanship Award. I see Kemba Walker's on here. Let me see who got second place. Maybe I'll give it to them. I'll give it to him. Al Horford deserves it, sure.
Yeah, I'll give sportsmanship to Al Horford. I agree with you. And then for least sportsmanship, I'll give it to Isaiah Thomas just because of his destruction of the Cleveland Cavaliers this year. So yeah, I think we can agree with that.
All right, fair enough. And then we have and now we can actually turn on our thinking caps and get into the more interesting awards. So now we have the NBA Basketball Executive of the Year. And this one goes to the best GM or president of basketball operations in basketball. So this is obviously a very important award for us because we're always talking about how important the GMs are in the NBA, how they never get enough credit, how Samaya Ujiri never gets enough credit. So with that little hint, I think you know where I'm going with this. But just before, well, actually, I'll say this later. I'm giving it to Samaya Ujiri, and then my runners-up, I have Daryl Morey and Danny Ainge, just because I think they did an incredible job building their teams as well. You can make a case for the Warriors, but they really did more of their damage in the previous 2 years.
Yeah, I'll give it to, let's see. Who did you give it to again?
I gave it to Samaya Ujiri for the incredible bench she was able to put together from absolutely nothing that nobody had ever seen it before, basically, and getting Ibaka to have his big turnaround.
Yeah, I'll give it to, let's see. Okay, I'm just kind of running through the teams.
Yeah.
But I don't want to give it to Bob Myers because screw the Warriors. I don't want to give it to Daryl Morey because I think that's just he won, so that'd be kind of annoying just to give it to the guy who won.
Yeah.
I give it to Ujiri because you gave it to him. I don't want to give it to Danny Ainge because I don't like Danny Ainge. I can't give it to Kobe Altman because
God, no. He was horrible.
I can't give it to Bryan Colangelo because he is a Twitter burner kind of guy.
Yeah, who saw
I guess
that coming?
You know what? I guess I'll give it to Pat Riley. You know, why not? He got Dwayne Wade back this year. He still somehow fills the American Airlines Arena, even though there's no reason to be there. And he's probably going to end up getting rid of Hassan Whiteside, and he's a great guy for the organization. He's probably the only reason they're ever going to be relevant for the foreseeable future, other than Eric Spoelstra being a good coach. So yeah, I'll give it to Pat Riley just for whatever.
Yeah, and just to shout out all the people that got voting points for this award, just because nobody ever knows the GM's names, and they deserve a little bit of credit. We have Daryl Morey for the Rockets, Dennis Lindsey in second with the Jazz, which I don't agree with, and I'm a Jazz fan. Then you have Kevin Pritchard with the Pacers, which I'll give mad props for, even though I think he had no clue what he was getting in that trade for Victor Oladipo. And we have Danny Ainge and his whole pirate booty with the Celtics. Then we have Masai Ujiri getting underrated, sadly, with the Raptors. Poor guy. Then we have Neil Olshey with the Trailblazers. I don't really know how much credit he deserves.
Speaking of Trailblazers, the Portland Trailblazers have just signed Seth Curry.
Oh, look at that. He's still in the league.
Yeah, Seth Curry. Now when Damian Lillard is pulling Steph can step in and help his brother out. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll give that a 2 out of 5. 2 out of 3.
Yeah, I'll give that a 2 out of 3. Same.
Okay. Well, look at that. Us breaking the news. But yeah, no, I don't think Neil Olshey had almost any credit for making the Trailblazers what they were in the regular season. I think that was Terry Stotts developing the talent that he basically wasn't given, turning Ed Davis into a productive player, getting Nurkic. Okay, I'll give Olshey credit for getting Nurkic, but that's pretty much the only thing he did. So, yeah. Then we have Bryan Colangelo with the Phillies. I always do that. The Phillies are the Philadelphia's baseball team, and for some reason that's the only team I ever mix up with the basketball. I never say the Dodgers instead of the Lakers. It's always the Phillies. But yeah, apparently this guy likes his Twitter rants quite a bit. I don't really know what happened with that. Actually, if you have some more information, I'd be curious to hear about that because I know almost nothing about what happened with that whole situation.
Basically, what happened was, so Bryan Colangelo, the GM of the Sixers, him and his wife had like 5 fake Twitter accounts in which they were tweeting out like information about like just first of all they were tweeting out like certain like medical like I guess gists that they had, like about how one guy would have this issue or whatever. And obviously, since they had the medical records, that's a huge problem. And then they were also they were trashing players. So like they would say that Embiid wasn't committed enough to doing this, or that they didn't like this about this player and stuff like that. And then like there was stuff about how Bryan Colangelo was consistently like on the burner accounts was trashing Jahlil Okafor, but he was hyping up Markelle Fultz, and then it became clear that the reason he was doing that was because he wanted to trash Sam Hinkie's picks and praise his own picks to make it seem like he was better than Hinkie, because then like Joel Embiid found out about it, and he tweeted Hinkie was better than you or something like that, and then also from the burner accounts, Bryan Colangelo said, Porzingis is 10 times better than Embiid. I would do that trade in an instant and stuff like that. So yeah, it just became a mess because he was trashing his own players.
Okay, well, yeah, that's no good at all. Okay.
Yeah.
After that, we have one of the people I think is one of the worst GMs in the league, actually, Garr Foreman for the Bears. God damn it, the Bears?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Okay, wow, that's really bad. Okay, for the Bulls, still a B team, but yeah, he's not a good GM. He doesn't get good talent around his teams. He had like one good year where he actually developed his talent and got lucky as all get out with that Derrick Rose pick. And yeah, I just don't think he's a good GM. So I don't know why he's this highly ranked. Then we have.
He's awful. The only thing, in my opinion, the Derrick Rose thing isn't even that impressive because I think any team would have picked Derrick Rose number 1. The most impressive thing he did to me was picking Jimmy Butler at number 30 in 2011. But obviously, he screwed that up for Zach LaVine, who has a torn ACL, and Chris Dunn, we don't even know what his ceiling is going to be. So.
Yeah, and the other impressive thing that he's done in his long tenure with the Bulls is, well, to what's his name? That's right, Bobby Portis, to suspend Bobby Portis for punching Nikola Mirotic in the face. That was a good call.
Yep, and then Nikola Mirotic is now a really good player in New Orleans.
Yep, good job trading him. Okay, then we have Bob Myers, which just gets a strong whatever for me for the Warriors. I mean, kind of easy to be a good GM when you have an amazing team. After that, we have the second worst GM in the league, Sam Presti. No, just kidding. He's not that bad, but he is a below-average GM in the league. He likes his blockbuster trades, and they usually blow up in his face. So that's kind of what he gets.
The Oklahoma City Thunder are going to pay $156 million in salary to lose.
Whoa!
Yeah, $156 million in total salary to lose in the Trump. That's great.
And for some context there, the salary cap for this year is here. Yeah. Oh, it's actually lower than I thought. I thought it was going to be like 113, but it's actually 102 million. So they're paying like 50 million in luxury tax, which honestly I think is a good move by them. I think there aren't enough big market teams out there that actually spend enough in luxury tax. I mean, why not? But
the rumors say, or not the rumors, I guess, but there's a lot of word out there that they're trying to buy out and stretch Carmelo Anthony.
Oh God.
Because I mean that actually, I mean, I don't think Melo can be on that roster. I think it's going to be awful, but obviously that's not going to help because then you have to pay like a fee or something if you're going to waive and stretch someone or whatever it is. So
yeah, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. Those blockbuster moves, being like, "Look at me, I got Carmelo Anthony," and then he sucks, and he's like, "Look at me, I'm going to stretch him out and keep him on the roster because let's watch him turn into a zombie." I mean, just terrible move. Oh well, but he's nowhere near as bad as the next person on this list, Kobe Altman, who. Not Kobe Altman, sorry. Colby. No, it is Kobe Altman. Yeah, look at him naming himself after Kobe. Oh.
Kobe Altman, yeah.
Okay, well, he's horrible. Those mid-season trades were awful for the Cavaliers. They didn't pay out ever, basically. I mean,
yeah, they were horrible. I mean, honestly, I was reading this, and I guess apparently the Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance deal with the Lakers was apparently just a strategic move that LeBron encouraged to get their salaries off the Lakers roster.
That's
so
interesting.
There was more room when he signed to bring in someone else. So, yeah, that's interesting. But we have yet to get to free agency. So.
Yeah, and I mean, if he was a good GM, he would have said, "Screw off, LeBron. I'm managing a team here."
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Then we have Scott Layden with the Timberwolves. actually going to say that he doesn't do a good job because he hasn't traded Andrew Wiggins yet. No, I'm just kidding. But he hasn't really developed that much talent around him. He's mostly just coasted on what really was a good team that he took over in terms of its bench with Nemanja Bjelica, who obviously has left the team now. But aside from that, I'm trying to think of who else. Shabazz Muhammad was always good for the years that he was with the Timberwolves, and can't think of any other bench players, but they always have an amazing bench. They just never were able to develop their starters enough outside of Karl Anthony Towns, and at least they have Jimmy Butler now to build around. But we'll see how much they can actually, compete in the new West.
Yeah, I like the Wolves. I think they probably would have won like 52, 53 games if Jimmy Butler never got hurt. Seeing as they won 47, even though he missed 20-something games. So that was a good move by their GM to get Jimmy Butler. Obviously, he's one of the best, probably, given Kawhi Leonard currently not being around, he's probably the best two-way perimeter player in the league, when Kawhi is not playing. And then he's also a clutch player. So, I that's really the only reason that the GM there is considering, considered to be doing a fine job. But you're right. They need to get rid of Andrew Wiggins and figure something out because I don't think he has a really good contract. He's not a bust, but he's very similar to like a Kenyon Martin type number 1 pick where he would have been a really good player if he was picked 10th.
Yeah, no, that's pretty accurate. Okay, then we have 2 more people. Tim Connolly with the Denver Nuggets. I'm going to say this is a bad choice. He's not a bad GM. He's just an average GM, and he hasn't really done anything spectacular, to be honest. Maybe you can say it's impressive that he drafted Nikola Jokic, but, at some point, you can't just give GMs credit because they drafted one player, right? It's not that great. And the Nuggets have a horrible salary cap right now. It was the biggest reason why they weren't really competitive for LeBron, aside from the fact that he was apparently headstrong on going to the Lakers. But, yeah, he doesn't really impress me.
Yeah, me either. I think it's not. He's average. So
yeah, this is one of those guys where he just got a spare vote somewhere from one GM, and I don't know, that kind of supported him. And then surprisingly, Pat Riley with 1 total vote point for a 3rd place vote. That's a little surprising. Personally, I don't think he's done a very good job. I know you do based on that, but I feel like he's hanging on to too many veterans, and he kind of has to just because of the whole legacy around the LeBron James dynasty down there. Not really dynasty, it was 4 years, but the whole championship spree they went on. And yeah, he kind of has to keep around Udonis Haslem and whatnot. And yeah, at least they're getting a good rookie core going, and it seems like they're drafting well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'll second that.
Okay.
I don't have much of anything in that.
Great. Okay. And just to shout out the worst GM in the league, we have John Hammond for the Orlando Magic.
Oh, that's not even close. Yeah, he's by far the worst.
Yeah, he's just doing a terrible job. If you told anyone right now who hadn't followed the Magic in previous years that they made the finals in, was it 2009 or 2010? Yeah, nobody would believe that with the state of that roster right now. They're completely in shambles, and I know there's quite a bit of turnover in the NBA, but to be as bad as they are right now with basically no hope in the next couple of years, yeah, they are not in a good position. And this is considering that he was replacing a GM that literally put his draft board up on Twitter. So, he didn't, but someone did. So clearly they need to hire some extra security or something, which also falls on his back. But yeah, Magic need to find some better GMs.
The Magic are so awful that they picked Mario Hezonja, and then in 2016 I don't even remember who they picked, and then last year in 2017 they picked Jonathan or something. What's his name? Crap, I can't remember the guy they picked last year. Number 6 in 2017.
Here, I'll look up their draft.
I think it was Jonathan something.
It wasn't Jonathan Simmons.
It wasn't Jonathan Simmons. It was.
Here, I'll pull up the 2017 draft.
I can't. They picked.
This guy. Yeah, Jonathan Isaac.
Yeah, Jonathan Isaac. Yeah, that's his name. He was an awful pick. And who did they pick in 2016?
2016. Oh crap! I'll have to pull that up as well. Here, I'll get it fast. 2016, they drafted the Orlando Pinstriped Post. Oh, they're harsh. They gave him a C+. Okay, let's see who they drafted. Come on, where is it? Do they even have a first-round pick? Yeah, I don't think they had a first-round pick. Oh, that's right. They drafted Domantas Sabonis and traded him immediately.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so here's how it goes. Oh, and they got what's his name?
Serge Ibaka, yeah, and then immediately traded him away at the midseason.
Right. So basically, to give you guys a brief summary of how poorly the Orlando Magic franchise has been run, they had Dwight Howard. He left, and rather than doing anything that would allow them to continue winning, they engaged in a 10 to 13 year rebuilding plan, right? And I think that's what they said. I think they said they had a 13-year plan to win again by 2030.
Oh my God! Did they really say that?
And I think they would ask this in 20 because the reason I say this is because when I'm playing 2K, right, and whenever I'm playing against the Magic or something, or whenever I'm playing against the Magic, one of the announcers is one of the commentators in the game says that the Orlando Magic have a 13-year rebuild plan or something, so to win at least one championship by 2030. And they said this, I believe, in 2017. So basically, since Dwight Howard, they've picked Aaron Gordon, okay, who's not that good. Then they picked Mario Hezonja, who's a bust. Then they picked Domas Sabonis, who is pretty good, but then they traded him away, so they never got to reap any benefits from him. For Serge Ibaka, who is past his prime as a player and no longer that good of a defender, and has now completely basically become a stretch four rather than being the rim protector that he once was. Then they picked Jonathan Isaac, who basically he's probably going to be a bust. And now they finally picked Mo Bamba, who is really only going to do something to strengthen their defense in maybe 2 or 3 years after they get him some help to play with, and is not going to provide them anything immediately offensively. And I like Mo Bamba a lot, but seeing as there were probably better options available to go with, someone who could actually maybe initiate some offense to get you going, because you can teach defense better than you can teach offense. The Magic are just hopeless at this point, and they're horrible. They're probably never going to win anything for the foreseeable future until they get really lucky and finally get a number 1 draft pick.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And just to throw out their number 25 overall pick last year, Anzechis Sasizice. Oh God. Oh Jesus Christ. Pasejicics. That's
let me read his name. I'm gonna try.
Okay, it's Anzejs. I think it's Turkish. Pasecniks.
Okay. Can you spell it again? A-N what?
Anzejs. Pascniks. And I know the C is silent, but I want to pronounce the C.
I guess it would be Anzes Pasenix?
Yeah, I think it is that.
Anges maybe? Anges Pasenix?
Actually, we might have a problem. What if there's an accent on that C? Yeah, how does the Turkish C work again? Is that the C becomes the S, or?
No, the C, I think when it's like that becomes a ch, like Doncic.
Oh God,
Pasechniks.
Okay, yeah, Pasechniks. Okay.
That makes it. Maybe it's Pasechniks.
Okay. Well.
Because because Luka Doncic is. Because he has that same symbol over the first C in his name.
Okay. Well, we just had more fun trying to pronounce his name than the Magic are going to have for the next 5 years. So, yeah, good for them.
Luka Doncic is basically like our age. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. We're starting to get in that range where
extra draft is going to be our class. It's crazy.
Oh, it's going to be bizarre, and yeah, we'll see you on the floor, I guess. I don't know, but what's your position again? You said you like shooting guard, or?
I like playing off the ball. So usually as a 2-guard.
Okay, well, we'll see if the Warriors want you.
Honestly, they'll take everyone they can get.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, then we have NBA Coach of the Year. Hopefully, we didn't drone on too long about that one. So, obviously, Coach of the Year is a tough debate. And oh wait, I forgot to talk about the thing I wanted to talk about for the Executive of the Year. So, I really wanted to bring a statistical approach to my choice for Executive of the Year, and I think I devised a pretty good system. But it is so difficult to get analytics on executive functions, and the only way I could think of was trying to divide the responsibilities of the GM and the coach apart. But the biggest problem is assessing the difference between, or assessing the responsibility for player development, from the player to the coaching staff to the GM drafting him in the first place. And I just found it almost impossible. So yeah, I just went for Masai Ujiri. But in the next couple of years, that might be an interesting project for me to work on. All
right. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, that could be interesting for you to try out.
Yeah. But then we have a Coach of the Year. Same dilemma, obviously, but at least for this one, you can have a more obvious choice. So the vote getters for this one, and I'm not going to talk about each one of them because they get plenty more attention. The vote getters were Dwayne Casey, Quinn Snyder, Brad Stevens, Brett Brown, Mike D'Antoni, Nate McMillan, Terry Stotts, Greg Popovich, Alvin Gentry, Eric Spoelstra, and Doc Rivers. And the real big competitors here for me were Brad Stevens, Nate McMillan, and Terry Stotts. And I mean, it was tough for me to rule out the Portland Trailblazers' problems in the playoffs, but I think if you're just going to look at regular season performance and perfectly just playing to the regular season and doing an amazing job with it, I think you have to give the Trailblazers credit there. And you can make an argument that Dwayne Casey did the same thing, but he did it in the East, and we talked about how it was like a 4-win difference between the East and the West, but still, getting the third seed in the West is pretty freaking impressive.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna so you're saying you get Coach of the Year to Terry Stotts?
Yeah, and I want to give it to Brad Stevens, but I don't know. I feel like Terry Stotts needs some love.
So here's the thing. I'll give a short summary why I don't think Dwayne Casey should have won. And the reason I understand that he won 59 games and that translates to about 55 wins in the West. But I mean, when you look at it, I feel like Dwayne Casey shouldn't receive an award for simply correcting a problem, because basically, like, Dwayne Casey's been with the Raptors for years now, and this is and he's essentially had the same roster, other than this bench unit being changed. And the bench unit was, I believe, someone had talked about how Nick Nurse, who's the new head coach of the Raptors, who was an assistant coach, was basically the one who thought up the entire offense change.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I read that he was basically the one who thought that they should become a more free-flowing offense and do less isolation, and that was his suggestion, which is basically the reason they were so successful this year. So when Dwayne Casey's really not even responsible for it, I just don't think that he should win an award, especially considering that he's had year after year after year to do this. And while I don't think he should have been fired necessarily, I just don't think that he should be viewed as having done something exponential or life-changing when, number one, the new players that he acquired for his bench were better, and that just helped him win more games. And he didn't really have much to do with that other than just telling them, go out there and just score the ball and play defense, right? And then also, he's not the one responsible for the change in offense. So I think it should have been probably between Brad Stevens and Quinn Snyder. I'm going to go with Quinn Snyder just because it was impressive what he was able to do without Gobert for all of those games, and because he had a rookie leading his offense from a scoring perspective, and that's obviously something that no one's been able to do in a very long time. Make it to the playoffs as a fourth, or I can't remember if they were fourth or fifth, but I believe they were fifth.
Yeah.
And then so making the fifth seed in a tough Western Conference with the rookie basically leading your teams in scoring, that's extremely impressive. And just the way that he was able to make all the pieces fit together and to introduce so many different play styles. You have your unathletic wing and Joe Ingles, who's just a shooter. Then you have your traditional power forward style athletic player in Derrick Favors, your traditional center as a shot blocking center, Rudy Gobert. Then you have your prototypical point guard, Ricky Rubio, and then your surefire scorer in Donovan Mitchell. So I really liked how he basically brought an old school approach to being able to win games. He didn't really have one necessarily versatile player who could play multiple positions. He kind of went through the old school route of having a traditional point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center, and he was able to utilize it successfully and become a great defense. And win a playoff series with basically a rookie being recognized as, I guess, even though you and I know better than to say that he's the team's best player.
Yep.
To the naked eye, he was, I guess, the team's most recognizable player, which is still impressive and count for something. So I'll give it to Quinn Snyder just because.
Yeah, and you know what? You actually convinced me. I'm going to switch to Quinn Snyder as well. I don't think I was giving him enough credit there, and it really is impressive, the kind of stuff he was able to do. And yeah, that's a definite example of a team where the coaching caused the big change in it. We talked about the teams where the coach isn't doing very much. A team like the Warriors, where we're like, okay, they're good because they have amazing players, and the coach just sits on the sidelines to make sure no one gets too many technical fouls, which frankly he didn't do a very good job with. But yeah, I mean, if they didn't have Quinn Snyder, then the offense would have been incredibly different. I think he really tailored the offense around Ricky Rubio, and that's why they struggled in the playoffs. Was everything came down to the blender and Ricky Rubio and passing the ball around and relying on Donovan Mitchell for off-ball scoring. And yeah, I mean, Quinn Snyder deserves all the credit in the world for how good the Jazz were last year, and who knows, maybe they'll win like 50 games this year now that Rudy Gobert is going to play like 80 games in the season. And yeah, who knows, maybe he'll get Defensive Player of the Year again.
Also, as far as Quinn Snyder goes, I mean, if you just put into perspective that if Rudy Gobert played 78, 79 games, and they most definitely, in my opinion, would have won 50-something games, and maybe, they probably could have approached 53, 55, 54 wins, something like that. Because Rudy Gobert was so important to them, and we all saw the turnaround where I think they went on like an 11-game winning streak or something, and the rookie led them in score, or maybe 12-game winning streak, and they basically had like one of the best records in the league after the All-Star break and all this stuff. So if they had Rudy Gobert healthy for a longer period of time, they definitely could have been a 50-plus win team.
Yeah, and I would have loved to see a playoff series between the Jazz and the Warriors with Ricky Rubio on the floor. I think that would have been an amazing series. And actually, I think it could have gone 7 games. I think Ricky Rubio is a top 5 passer in the league. He's one of the most innovative players and just creative players in the league, and he does an amazing job spreading the ball around, and I think it made all the difference in the world when the playoffs did not have him there, and it really speaks to the talent and coaching of the Jazz to make it past the Thunder, which, they were hamstrung by Carmelo Anthony, but whatever. They did an amazing job in that series, and they just ran into a bunch of saw blades over there on the Warriors, but
he's also what else was it? He's also an excellent defender of other point guards.
Oh yeah, definitely
Helps a lot.
But yeah, that's a Jazz for you, and that's Quinn Snyder, who surprisingly is the Coach of the Year. Okay, at least in our book. Maybe you'll get it next year. Okay, well, Dwayne Casey certainly won't be around to do that. Did he get hired by somebody?
Oh, Dwayne Casey's out of the Pistons.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I guess I can't complain about that, but he didn't get enough wins with the Pistons, and it does seem like there's a bit of a movement against the whole president of basketball operations thing with head coaches, even though Thibodeau was obviously made that, but he still did a pretty good job for a couple seasons. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm actually blanking on his name now. That's why I didn't use his name. Who was their Stan Van Gundy. That's right. Okay. Stan? It's not some other Van Gundy. Stan Van Gundy, coach of the Pistons.
Yeah, no, I heard you.
Okay. All right. Well, then I guess we can move on to our final 3 awards. Most Improved Player, 6th Man of the Year, and that's it. Okay. Well, that was anticlimactic, but the selections I have for this definitely aren't. So, for 6th Man of the Year, I guess I'll just start with that because I think my Most Improved Player one is. Oh no, I'm gonna do 6th Man of the Year second because I think that one's more interesting. So most Improved Player, I did the whole thing where you go out and oh crap, I'm actually looking at my outline now, and I actually have Greg Popovich as my coach. So my Coach of the Year. So I really went off the rails here. That's why you look at your notes, folks. But I'm actually kind of persuaded by that. Greg Popovich did do an amazing job keeping that team together. Here, I'll just sneak that in. I'm going to switch again to Greg Popovich because that's more impressive to get in the playoffs with that horrendous Spurs team that was basically just a bunch of broken bones and Rudy Gay holding it together. So.
And LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah, and LaMarcus Aldridge. But yeah, to have the 3rd seed up until basically March was amazing. Okay, so 6th Man of the Year. No, damn it. Most Improved Player. Sheesh, I shouldn't have gotten 2 hours of sleep before I recorded this. That was a bad call. Well, whatever.
Yeah.
I could have gotten no hours. All right, so for Most Improved Player, I did the whole system that I did for All-NBA. I averaged the Z scores of win shares per 48 minutes, box score plus minus, and VORP, and just spit out a number from there. And lo and behold, it was Victor Oladipo still. So yeah, that wasn't too surprising at all. So good for him. He's an amazing player, and that shouldn't surprise anyone that he was the number one there. After that, I had the runner-up as Dario Saric, which I think is interesting only because nobody thinks about who the runner-up should be for the most improved player, because I don't think anyone could think of anyone. So yeah, Dario Saric right there. After that, I gave it to Domantas Sabonis because he actually had an amazing turnaround season. He kind of sucked in his rookie year, which was terrible because I really expected great things of him as Arvydas' son, and he just wasn't good with the Thunder, and he was pretty good with the Pacers this year. So yeah, I'm giving that to him. And then after this, I'm pretty happy. We have Andre Drummond, who was pretty good this season. He really turned around his free throw percentage, got into the 60s. Woohoo! And yeah, he was a great defensive force, obviously winning my Defensive Player of the Year award. He, didn't really do much on offense, but he never does, stand around the rim, put some dunks in, grab some lobs. Actually tossed around a couple more assists this year, so yay, he averaged like 2 assists per game instead of like half an assist. So that was pretty good. And then for my fifth one, just because I thought I might as well go down the list, I had Fred VanVleet, who had a really good turnaround season. So yeah.
Yeah. So for me, for most improved player, the thing with Victor Oladipo is I feel like the thing that people are missing with this whole most improved player award thing is I feel like it's a little bit unfair to give it to a player who's moving on to a completely new situation where they're the best player on a team, because every player who's going to be given that, that boost to their usage rate and that sort of thing, they're not really improving their game and they're not really improving themselves as a player. They're just taking on a bigger role and showing what they can do in that role. It would be like if Klay Thompson, basically, he's averaging 19, 20 points per game on the Warriors. If he was, let's say that he went to let's say he went to Utah, right? And he went to Utah and then he automatically becomes their number one scorer and he's averaging like 25, 26 points per game. And, he's adding a couple more rebounds and a couple more assists to his game. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's Klay Thompson improving himself as a player. It's just he's in a new situation, so he's able to do more. So while obviously Victor Oladipo, what he was able to do this year, averaging 23, 4 assists, 5 rebounds, whatever, and playing great defense, obviously it was impressive, it was great. But he was sort of in a very similar situation, or he was in a brand new situation, whereas some of the other players were basically in similar situations as they were before. So my most improved player this year actually is Clint Capella, because basically he was playing for the same coach, playing with the same best teammate. The only thing that changed to him was that he now had an additional guy to throw him lobs, which, that'll help him offensively score a couple more points. But he was really the anchor for their defense this year. He led them to being a top 6 defense in the league this year. He's really the only reason, in my opinion, that they were able to win 65 games. Because if you just have Chris Paul and James Harden, that's great. You have that. But with Chris Paul's injury and stuff, if you didn't have Clint Capella there, you wouldn't have been able to finish a lot of those games or win a lot of those games. And also, the record with him, Chris Paul, and James Harden in the lineup together, he really acted like the third piece to their big three, which is something that I never would have seen coming the year before. He's obviously a great rebounder. He was a great rim protector this year, played phenomenal defense. And just because I feel like he really came out of nowhere and nobody, it's like when Chris Paul signed with the Rockets, nobody thought new big three, Clint Capella, James Harden, and, Chris Paul. But now, let's say had LeBron come there, people would obviously be saying LeBron, James Harden, Chris Paul, Clint Capella as sort of like a big floor because of his impact this year. So just because I think he did the most to change his name and really solidify himself as probably someone who's more deserving of a higher paying contract now, I think Clint Capella should have been the most improved player, just because really the only thing that changed for him was the addition of one teammate, and most of his improvements came on the other side of the ball. Obviously, he improved offensively, but he became a better rebounder, which doesn't have much to do with Chris Paul. Became a better passer out of the post, which doesn't have that much to do with Chris Paul. And then obviously a better defender and a better shot blocker, which don't really have anything to do with Chris Paul. So I'll give it to Clint Capella just because I think he was extremely impressive in basically becoming probably a top 5 or 6 center in the league.
Okay, well, for me, my problem with Clint Capella is last year, and obviously last year being 2016, 2017, he was 6% better than league average in terms of his performance, in terms of my metrics, and that's pretty impressive, right? I did a a Z-score calculation to find the probability using normal distribution. That's pretty cool. But yeah, no, 6% better than league average. So he was already a pretty good player. Like, nothing otherworldly like he kind of was now with his field goal percentage at least. But yeah, I mean, he wasn't too bad. And that's the problem with most improved player awards. At a certain point, people don't care if you were really bad or just like average. Because they don't remember because you had an amazing season this year, and they're just like, "Wow, you came out of nowhere." And then they just judge it based on did you come out of nowhere to be the best, or did you come out of nowhere to be just really good? And that's why I think Clint Capella did as well in the voting as he did this year. So
right, I'll just explain briefly as well another reason why I think that. So basically, last year Clint Capella played 24 minutes per game, and he averaged 12.6 points, 1.2 blocks, 8.1 rebounds. This year, he only improved his minutes, and he only got to 27 minutes per game, so it was only an increase of 3 minutes a game. And then he ended up averaging 14 points, 1.9 blocks, 0.8 steals, which was 0.3 up from the year before, as well as 11 rebounds a game. So, and then also, I am a little biased because I factored, I guess I really shouldn't have, but I was thinking about the playoffs a lot in this too. And in the playoffs, they played 17 games. He upped his minutes to 31 a game, and he ended up averaging 13 points, 2 blocks, 1.3 assists, and 12 rebounds. So I guess I was a little biased by the fact that I kind of included the playoffs in it, just because that's what I'm seeing most recently. But no, I understand what you're saying. It's not like he made some marginal jump, and he also did play more games this year than last year. So I get what you're saying, but I just when watching it, like from the eye test, because I watched a lot of Rockets games on the 55-win team that they were in 2017 with James Harden. And then I watched a lot of games from this 65-win Rockets team with Chris Paul and James Harden. And it was really easy to see the difference. Like he was popping up more, and he was making more of an appearance. And just because his situation stayed basically the same, other than the addition of another ball handler to his team. I think that he's more deserving of it because he kind of had to adapt and change a little bit to accommodate his new team, whereas Oladipo was just getting a brand new team that's his.
yeah, and in case anyone's curious, just in terms of the advanced metrics, the ones that like him a lot are the win shares metrics. So he puts up a lot of raw stats. And the ones that don't like him very much are the rate statistics, box plus minus especially, but also VORP. He's like 40th in the league in terms of box plus minus, so that's, it's average for a superstar, would say that. But yeah, I basically explained why I had him where I did. And yeah, did you have any runners up, or was that just it?
My runner up would be Andre Drummond.
Yay!
It's weird what happened to him because he had a really good 2015-2016 season. Then he had kind of a down 2016-2017 season, but he kind of picked it back up this year. So, just going through his stats, in 2016, he averaged 16 points and 15 rebounds, which is obviously amazing. Then he had a down year last year where he averaged 14 points and 14 rebounds. But then this year he picked it up again, and he averaged 15 points and 16 rebounds, led the league in rebounding. He improved his free throw percentage a ton. This was the most minutes he's ever played. His field goal percentage was still pretty good, not as high as we'd like it to be. He obviously improved as a passer as well. He went from 1 assist a game to 3 assists a game, which is, that's pretty a big jump when you're a center like him who really didn't have anything else to offer. He's also improved as a ball handler, which, the stats don't really show. And it was also the highest blocks that he's posted per game since 2015. So it was a nice bounce back year for him. I think if there was a comeback player of the year award, he definitely would have been up there to win that. So yeah, he was my runner-up.
Yeah, and just to call out some of the poor choices that I thought were present on the actual voting results. Spencer Dinwiddie, don't really understand that. I mean, sure, he had a good season, but he was already okay. Steven Adams, I don't even think he had a better season than he did last year, so I don't know why that happened. Lou Williams, I think he had a worse season as well. He also played way more minutes, so going to your point about moving on to a new team. Who else? Giannis, I didn't really think he had a better season than last year, to be honest. He started off with a much better season than last year, but then he kind of slowed down as the season went on. Yeah. Let's see, who else? Each one more. He wasn't good. he just wasn't. I don't know how that happened. Who else here? Tyreek Evans, actually. I was surprised he didn't come up on my list, but just like Giannis, he also cooled off quite a bit. Let's see who else is on here. You can make a case for Tobias Harris, but I didn't think he improved that much. I thought he was already pretty good. Let's see. Jingling Joe, I mean, he was, he was already pretty good. Who else?
That makes sense. And also, just for Andre Drummond, another reason why I had him as my runner-up, he's the first player since Dennis Rodman to average 16 rebounds per game, and he's only the second player to do it in the last 40 years. So I think he's by far the best rebounder we have in our league today. So he definitely deserves some credit for that.
100%. And I know we always talk about this, but you've always been super strict about your most improved player thing. You don't like the players in their second year. You don't like the players that move on to a new team, the ones that get big minutes increases, but it makes it more interesting when we have different perspectives. And actually, I'm going to have plenty of different perspectives on this Sixth Man of the Year award. I actually did it based on 3 different definitions of what a sixth man is. And surprisingly, in all 3 of them, the same player won. So he really was the Sixth Man of the Year.
All right. Who was it? Why don't you go ahead? You can let me know.
Okay, well, I'll start with the 3 different definitions I used, and I'm actually curious to see which one you like the best. So the first one was the most conservative definition, and this was fewer than half of the team's games started. So less than 41 games started in a season. So that's the most conservative. What do you think? Too conservative? Not conservative enough?
For me personally, I think that you should have to. I think you should have to play like at least. Gosh, I think you're gonna have to play at least 55 games coming off the bench.
Okay.
So that's what that would be. You can only start the maximum number of games you can start. I guess would be then what. 50 minus 3, 27?
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, 27 games would be the maximum amount. I mean, there's some variation there. It'd be like 27 to 30. Just because I feel like, I mean, if let's say like if you're like a surefire starter, right? But then like for whatever, like for like Andre Iguodala, like when the first year that he was with the Warriors coming from the Sixers, like if he started the year on the starting, but then like he was moved to the bench because he wasn't good enough to be a starter, then I don't think he should win an award because he was too bad to start.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
So I mean, yeah. So I mean, for me personally, I think that you should have to come off the bench for 55 to 60 games.
Okay. And that definition was too conservative for me as well. So I went with more. I'll give the most aggressive definition for a Sixth Man of the Year next,
Wait a minute, Ryan. I'm getting. Oh my God.
Oh no! Is it a free agency deal?
DeMarcus Cousins went to the Warriors.
No! No! Oh no! Wait, how much money was it?
Oh my God, I don't know, but dude, that's crazy.
I know Oh my God, the Warriors are the best team ever now. Oh my God, the best team in NBA history just became the. I don't even know what they became.
Holy crap!
Oh my God, this just went from the Death lineup to the Grim Reaper lineup. Holy crap! They don't even have it up yet. Jesus. Oh my God, I want to see how much money this was. Oh my God.
He had to have signed for the minimum.
No, I know. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Wow. Actually, he might not recover from that Achilles thing, but if he does, good Lord, is that lineup going to be incredible? Yeah. Holy crap.
1 year, $5.3 million.
5.3 million. Wow.
He took the fucking minimum.
Oh my God.
I'm devastated. I'm actually devastated.
I can't even believe that how good that lineup's going to be, especially if one of their rookie centers develops. They have 6 amazing rookie centers. Oh, well, 5 now that JaVale left. But what if Kayvon Looney became an amazing player as well at the power? Oh my God, just thinking of that. And listen to this. Stephen Curry.
The best lineup ever.
Oh my God, Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant. What's his name? Draymond Green, DeMarcus Cousins. How do you stop that? Oh my God. That's literally a top 3-point guard in the league, the best shooting guard in the league, the second best small forward in the league, the second best power forward, if not the best, and then like the top free center in the league, along with a good bench.
They have 5 All-Stars.
Oh my! They have 5 All NBA players. Wow. I mean, Klay Thompson, but wow. Wow. Okay, well, I mean, good thing he's coming off an Achilles. I'm obviously not going to root for him to come back to be hurt because I like DeMarcus Cousins a lot as a person, but wow, that really surprises me.
That's insane. DeMarcus Cousins to the Warriors.
Well, I don't think we have to guess what your rating is.
Yeah, it's going to be a 0 out of 3.
Oh
God. Oh, wow, that's crazy.
I'd still take it over the LeBron move, but yeah, wow. I'll give it 0 as well. Wow. They are... Wow. I mean, this is an argument. This is the argument for why the salary cap needs to be based on compensation and not contribution and not what was it? I don't know what the word was. Whatever the payroll structure we talked about last time was, where you're paid based on your performance and not based on whatever you're willing to take in terms of money. Because that's when situations like this happen, where some superstar comes onto a team for like $20 million less than he deserves just so he can go win a championship. Wow, that is unbelievable.
Okay. This is easily the greatest team of all time.
No, easily. I mean, they were already the greatest team of all time. If people were talking about, the greatest team of all time just added Kevin Durant, the extra greatest team of all time just added DeMarcus Cousins. Oh my God. And
it talks about him. This completely, like, the whole Lakers thing doesn't even matter anymore.
No, I know. Oh my God.
Now, even if the Warriors are so wise for this, because now even if the Lakers get Kawhi, it won't matter.
Yeah, somehow, apparently Google hasn't caught on for me yet. I don't know what's up there, but
it's been tweeted by Adrian Wojnarowski and Shams Charania. But yeah, he's apparently Woj reported that he's going to be playing for $5.3 million.
Well, that's a Woj bomb for you, but wow, that's nuts. Honestly, if he does come back and he's super hurt, this reminds me a lot of the Celtics big free signing. What's his name? The Trailblazers guy who basically won the Trailblazers championship and had the broken foot and went over. I don't remember.
Yeah, and see, my only hope is that like maybe the only reason Boogie did this is because like he knows that his injury's so bad and he just wants to win the championship. Like,
yeah, that would be the only thing I could think of. I'm trying to find this guy's name now, because honestly, this is what this reminds me of a lot. What is his name? Huh. Oh, Bill Walton. That's right. Yeah, that's what this reminds me of a lot, is Bill Walton going over to the Celtics big free. That obviously assuming that Cousins is hurt when he comes back. But again, like we've talked about this many times, but the Achilles injury is the worst one you can have in essentially in NBA history. It's like 2 out of 15 players actually came back and were the same player after it. So, I mean, yeah, it's a brutal injury, and I have to imagine he's not going to be the same player, but good Lord if he is.
Yeah, anyways, well, I guess we should just finish. Try and continue on with the podcast. That was, wow, that's crazy. I guess, I mean, well, we'll see, I guess. But
yeah, talk about breaking news. Okay.
That's devastating. That is devastating. Wow, that is the saddest news I've heard in quite some time.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, it's official. Bleacher Report just sent me notification. Warriors land Boogie. DeMarcus Cousins and Golden State agreed to a $5.3 million one-year deal.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's really interesting. Okay. Well, goodbye, parody. Hello, Warriors.
Yep.
All right. Well, I guess we have to get back to the discussion. Okay. Where were we? Let's see. So, okay. I was talking about my super aggressive definition of the sixth man of the year. One that, who knows, maybe Boogie Cousins will fall into with the minutes restriction. He'll probably be on with the Warriors. But basically, this super aggressive definition was that you had to play fewer than half your team's minutes per game. So you had to have less than 24 minutes per game in the season. So what do you think? Is that too aggressive? Is that not aggressive enough? Should it be like 20 minutes? Should it be in terms of games and not minutes per game? Because I know something you talked about was how much you hated those 6 men of the year where they came off the bench, but they were like James Harden and played like 30 minutes a game.
I think you should have to not play like. I think you should have to peel. Maybe like. Let's see. I'm trying to think. I think you shouldn't be able to play more than 30 minutes a game.
Okay.
Because that kind of makes you a starter, like in terms of for minutes. Because like I mean, if you're playing like 32 minutes a game and like Steph Curry plays like 34, then like are you really a 6-man? So I think you should have to play under 30 minutes a game. If I wanted to be more strict, I would say maybe like even under like 28, but I'll just say under 30.
Okay, then you're going to love my compromise definition that came last, which was you have to play fewer than the player with the 150th most minutes per game in the NBA. So the 150th player obviously being, assuming you have 5 men in your starting rotation, which you do, obviously, that means that there's 150 players in the starting rotation across the NBA. So the player with below that, every player below that would presumably be playing bench minutes. So that came out to be less than 25.9 minutes per game. And that's the definition I like the best for obvious reasons. So in terms of the players that actually won the award, well, unsurprisingly, actually incredibly surprisingly, actually, because amazingly, Lou Williams is apparently super overrated in terms of this award for some reason. Dwight Powell actually swept the field and took every single one of them. And I'm not surprised because, yeah, he's amazing, but I'm surprised because you never hear about him. And you don't really think of him as a bench player, but yeah, he played fewer than 24 minutes per game this season. That's not even like, averaging it based on 82 games. No, this is in the games he played. He played fewer than 24 minutes a game, and he was that good. So, yeah, Dwight Powell. What do you think about that?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just still recovering from the news. But yeah, Dwight Powell. I'm not sure about much of what he did this year. I actually haven't been following much.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. My runners up for all 3 were actually Larry Nance Jr., which I think makes sense.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, then my third place for all of them again. Apparently, it doesn't make much of a difference how many minutes you play when you're a 6-man. Was actually Kyle O'Quinn, which I think is the one that I expected the most. Actually, I kind of knew that he was having a really good season with the Knicks, and yeah, that was in a year when he's heading into free agency, and just he's a really good player, a really good power forward, and the Knicks actually had a lot of talent this year before they fell apart, and Porzingis tore his ACL and took an arrow to the knee. And yeah, so Kyle O'Quinn, props for him. And then for the 4th place in all of them, yep, that's right. It really doesn't make a difference. Was Jakob Poeltl, who was awesome, and obviously coming off the bench, being on the bench mob. So yeah. Then my 5th one on every single one of these as well was actually Kelly Olynyk, which makes sense. Obviously, he has a bit of a bad rap on this podcast, but he's still a decent player. Good enough for 5th place on the 6-Man of the Year award. And then, finally, we get some breakout. So, for the 6th place of the 6-Man of the Year award, we have Lou Williams. So, that's how far he fell. And then, for the 24 minutes per game or less, we had Montrezl Harrell. And then, same thing for the 25.9. So, I found it interesting how much the NBA seems to have a discrepancy between, if not reality, then the advanced metrics on 6-Men of the Year. And I thought it was really interesting because I did it based on every definition and like basically all the leeway I could give them. And yeah, it didn't make a difference. Like it just is not the players that they talk about. The Eric Gordons, the Lou Williams, and the I'm trying to think of who else. I don't know. It's not the players they think it is. And it seems like the 6-Man of the Year just goes to the bench player on the really good team or the player that we know about for whatever reason in the case of Lou Williams.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. I've never heard it like that. But you said Dwight Powell won like for all 3 of your definitions.
Oh yeah, yep, and it wasn't even close either.
That's interesting, actually. Let me take a look. Let me just take a look at what he did this year.
Yeah, sure.
Let me see what I can find. Dwight Powell.
And just based on how this has gone in the past, if you're looking at players that the advanced metrics like, I'm assuming he's going to have terrible box score numbers, but who knows? Maybe a good turnover.
Actually, 9 points per game, 6 rebounds a game, only 21 minutes a game, 59% shooting from the field. That's actually really respectable. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that then. I mean,
how was his assist to turnover?
Assist to turnover, so let me see. Dwight Powell. Basketball stats. All right. Assisted turnover, is that in advanced?
Probably in advanced, but I don't know. You could just look at the basic ones and then just look at assist and turnovers.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Assist to turnover ratio was 1.54.
Oh, that's actually not very good.
Yeah, but I mean that is only because his usage rate is not very much. So like basically, if he gets one assist and then he turns it over once, like it sucks for him. But whatever. I mean, like I'm fine with that actually. But based on like the way that I basically just kind of look at it in terms of your like not necessarily. I'm trying to think. Like I try my best to like. It's difficult to explain, so I guess I'll just say who I thought it would be, or I thought it should have been. So Eric Gordon for me, because he played 31 minutes a game, which is just over the threshold that I had, 8 to 30 minutes. So he's just over that, and then he's only started 30 games. He came off the bench for 69 games.
Wait, 60? What? Oh, that's including playoffs.
Yeah, well, no. He's in the regular season. He started 30 games.
Yeah, and then he came off the bench in 69?
Yes.
That's 99 games.
Oh, then this must be a typo then. I think this has to be a typo then,
yeah. Yeah, okay, I don't know. Maybe it was including the playoffs.
No, I'm so sorry. Never mind then. It can't be Eric Gordon. He played in 69 games.
Okay.
And started 30 of them.
Okay.
But so that's I don't know how I feel about that because, wow. Yeah, this is interesting.
Okay, well,
I'm gonna have to come off of Eric Gordon then. Yeah, that's a shame. Yeah. So I guess I'm gonna have to transition to someone else who came off the bench. Let's see. What did you know what? I'll just say Larry Nance. I'll say Larry Nance.
Hey.
Because he I don't know too much about Dwight Powell, but I know Larry Nance. And I liked him a lot, and I think he gave a lot of good energy whenever I saw him coming off the bench, and he was great. So, yeah.
All right, fair enough. And it honestly could have been in his counter if Porzingis hadn't gone down and given counter a lot more playing time. He was having an amazing start to the season, and then he just got too many games started. So, yeah. Okay. Well, that's the Sixth Man of the Year award, and that concludes our awards discussion for this podcast. So, yeah, it was interrupted by quite a few free agency bombardments, but I think we're through the worst of it. Emphasis on worst. Emphasis on DeMarcus Cousins and the Warriors and Bob Myers.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I forgot to use this in the lead-in for the podcast, but we're going to have to talk about the NBA draft because we forgot to talk about the NBA draft. So my idea for how we're going to do this is essentially I'm just going to go down the list of every player that got drafted, not say anything about them, and you can just stop me when you think that there's someone that merits some discussion. Sound good?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. And actually the other thing I'll do is just because it has the draft ratings, if I see like an A or an A+, I'll stop there and maybe say why they thought that they deserved an A+. Okay. Well, I'm trying to pull it up right now. I'm trying to go for the CBS ones because I'm used to looking at that. As you saw in the personal podcast last week, shout out to the personal podcast, I have the CBS Sports app on my home screen, and that's the one I rely on most. I like it a lot. It can be a tad liberal at times with them being so down on LeBron, so high on LeBron James, and just, I mean, it just comes off as liberal, but, I don't really necessarily have a problem with that. All right, so starting at the top, we have DeAndre Ayton going to the Suns. And remember, just stop me if you want to talk about anyone, but obviously the top of the first round isn't incredibly interesting aside from the trade that we get at number 3. Number 2, we get Marvin Bagley III going to the Kings. Then the Hawks, there was actually a trade here where the Dallas Mavericks traded their number 5 overall pick in 2019 for the Hawks pick, and they took Luka Doncic from Slovenia.
Okay.
Then we have Jaren Jackson Jr. with the Grizzlies at number 4. Then at number 5, that was the Mavericks' original pick, but obviously it was the Hawks now, and they took Trae Young. Then we had number 6, Mohamed Bamba, who reminds me a lot of, Manute Bol, even though he's not quite as tall, but he's just as skinny. Then we have, at number 7, the Bulls, Wendell Carter Jr. Then at number 8, we have Colin Sexton, who was given a B+, actually. So good for him going to the Cavaliers. Then at number 9, we have Kevin Knox for the Knicks. Then we have the 76ers trading their number 16 overall pick in 2021 for the Heat, and the Heat took Mikal Bridges. Then the Hornets traded their pick with the Clippers for the number 12 and 2 second-rounders this year. And the Clippers took Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Then the Clippers took, I'm also realizing this is taking way too long, so I'm just going to go down to 20. So the Clippers ended up taking Miles Bridges at the number 12 pick. Then at the number 13 pick, which they now had, they took Jerome Robinson. The Nuggets took Michael Porter Jr., which is an A pick. Then the Wizards took Troy Brown Jr. Then the 76ers traded their pick to the Suns for the number 10 pick in the number 16 pick in 2021. And they took Zaire Smith. And the Bucks took Dante DiVincenzo. Thank you. DiVincenzo, obviously famous for his performance in the college finals. And the Spurs took Lonnie Walker Jr., which was interesting. Didn't really see that coming. Then the Hawks took Kevin Huerter Jr. Then the Timberwolves took Josh Okogie. And just as I stopped watching the NBA draft at this point, the Jazz took Grayson Allen, to the surprise of no one. I really wanted to text you about this and say I'm going to call it right now that Grayson Allen's going to get taken by the Jazz, because it just makes so much sense for them to take him. Mostly just based on his skin complexion, to be honest with you. But, I mean, it just seems like a Jazz move to take him, and that's who they took. And, yeah, that basically concludes the NBA draft right there. Nobody really cares about the second round. Just glancing through this to see if there's any A grades or anything. The 76ers got an A grade for the number 60 overall pick, taking Kostas Antetokounmpo, obviously being Giannis' brother. Kevin Hervey to the Thunder at number 57 got an A-. Shake Milton going to the 76ers got an A. The Jazz getting Vince Edwards at the number 52. And, yeah, there's actually a lot of A's on here, so I guess the GMs did a good job this year. All right. Anything you want to add on the NBA draft, or just...
Not really. I mean, the draft, to be honest with you, wasn't that exciting. I mean, nothing really blockbuster happened other than the flipping of the picks, and the draft I think was pretty boring. I'm not really looking forward to any of these players except for Luka Doncic. Really, I don't think DeAndre Ayton is going to be as good as I think he's being made out to be, simply because I don't think he contributes the defensive end very much. The draft wasn't anything big to me this year. So
yeah, and the only player I'm really interested in at all is Mohamed Bamba, but the Magic are probably going to screw up his development because they screw up everything. Screw you, John Hammond. Okay, so that's the NBA draft. That went a lot faster than I thought, so we're going to have plenty of time to get more in depth with the NBA free agency moves. So obviously we got into some depth with that DeMarcus Cousins bombshell that we just got, but there is an elephant in the room here. And that elephant took a trip to the Los Angeles Zoo, and it's going to be a madhouse. That elephant is, he didn't get all the peanuts from the owner of that zoo, but he certainly got enough peanuts to feel fairly full, and it'll be enough for him to hold over for 4 years until Mama Elephant brings the baby elephant in, and the daddy elephant goes to play with the baby elephant. And at this point, I'm just being like Scott Boras with his crazy analogies. So I'll stop it there. But we're talking about LeBron James, if you can tell based on my poor elephant analogy. But yeah, yeah. I guess we'll start with your thoughts because I think everyone knows mine.
Well, so to be honest with you, my thoughts on this were 100 times different prior to this news about DeMarcus Cousins. So I'm gonna try and restore my what I was thinking before, because now I think this move is completely useless.
Well, actually, do you want me to start by just reading our text conversation when you broke the news to me?
No, that's fine. I'll get through it.
Oh, okay, sure.
Okay, so basically, here's for the audience. When LeBron made his decision to sign with the Lakers, I texted Ryan and LeBron to the Lakers, and then we had a brief conversation about it. And basically, what I think is about the Lakers was, first and foremost, I respect the decision for LeBron to go there, simply because I understand that, reading into it and following it for the past couple of months and hearing people on sports talk radio shows and all that stuff talk about it, it was clear to me that he was making this decision for his family, and he was thinking about everything much bigger than basketball. Like, he really didn't want to he didn't want to prioritize anything where he thought that his family wouldn't be 100% comfortable, which is why he didn't want to opt. And the reason LA was among the discussion in the first place was because he has 2 houses there. His children really like it there. They vacation there. They live there in the summers and stuff. So I think a lot of people, a lot of analysts and stuff, had always thought from the jump that it was basically going to be between Cleveland and Los Angeles, because those are the 2 places where his family can consider home, and that anything after that would have to be either a 100% great basketball fit, and it would have to be fine for his family. So basically what I think LeBron did was, when he was evaluating, because I think we all believe that the top 4 teams that were in contention to get him ended up being the Houston Rockets, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Los Angeles Lakers. So it means, for me, when he made the decision to go to the Lakers, the reason I'm excited for it is because I know that even though, for you this isn't the preferred thing, and I guess we'll talk about why that is in a second, but for me, the reason that it's a cool thing is because I think it helps the legacy of the NBA, and not the legacy of the NBA, but I think it helps the NBA, because whenever the Lakers are whenever the Lakers are relevant, whenever the Lakers are winning, basketball is a better time, and just for their fan base is one of it's definitely one of the most annoying, but they're definitely one of the most diehard fan bases in the league, and they're some of the best fans in the league for their team and for that city. So the NBA is just always good whenever the Lakers and Celtics are good and the premier franchises are good, because if they both suck, then it's you're missing out on a lot of fans who are just interested in the league and don't really care about it, because it's just whatever. But I think this is really going to help ratings and revenue and stuff, especially if in the next 2 to 3 years or 4 years or however long it is that the Warriors' reign is ending, or whenever, because who knows what's going to happen. But whenever that happens, I think we're definitely going to be able to see a Lakers-Celtics finals, which will be great for ratings, great for TV, great for all that stuff. And LeBron is obviously going to be a huge part of that. And, if Kyrie Irving stays with the Celtics, then it's going to be really cool, because we'll be exploring the whole Celtics-Lakers rivalry, as well as the LeBron versus Kyrie thing, which would be cool. So I think for that aspect, it's good. And also, just from a basketball perspective, when I was really thinking about it, the Lakers roster this past year for the 2016-2017 season, or 2017-2018 season, versus the Cleveland Cavaliers roster without LeBron James for the 2017-2018 season, I understand that Kevin Love would be the best player among both of those rosters, but when you look at the depth, the overall skill, and the overall talent of both rosters, I think it's pretty clear that the Lakers roster is better than Cleveland's roster. Because you have Kuzma, who's young, potential. He can shoot, he can score 16 points per game, 6 rebounds, and he shot pretty efficiently for a rookie, 45% from the field, 37% from 3. Brandon Ingram, a second-year player who also averaged 16 points, 6 rebounds, and also shot pretty efficiently, I believe, around 46% from the field, and also around 36 or 37% from 3. So when you factor in that both of those guys are already great scorers as rookies, and as a rookie and a second-year player, I can only be optimistic about their future because both of them are long, both are around like 6'9", 6'10", both have long wingspans, both are athletic, both can move their feet, both can have potential to be amazing defensively. So I think they can provide LeBron with a very unique, like two-way forward combination to play with as he ages. Because I think next season Brandon Ingram is probably in line to average, 19 to 20 points per game because he's going to have LeBron creating for him. He's going to have Lonzo creating for him, Rajon Rondo creating for him. So things are going to come easier to him, in my opinion. Kyle Kuzma, similar things. He's going to be able to fulfill a catch-and-shoot role while also giving you good defense. And he is kind of like a stretch forward because I think he played a lot of minutes at power forward. So, depending on wherever LeBron wants to play at small forward or power forward, he can slide around to either forward spot, maybe even he'd be a really tall shooting guard, but he could potentially play there because of his talents. So I think basketball-wise, it ends up being a fit. And then you also have to, consider that LeBron has, for the past couple of years, I think, been looking for more playmakers. He said to the media a couple of years ago that they needed a effing playmaker because they're top heavy and they needed something to make plays for the second unit. He'll have that. He'll have Lonzo, who's just coming off the season where he averaged 7 assists a game. Obviously going to be playing with Rondo as well, who's coming off a season where he probably averaged around 6 or 7 or maybe even 8 assists a game himself. So they're probably going to be the best passing team in the NBA, like you said. And then as far as the big man goes, there's really not too much to say about the center thing because, JaVale, JaVale's not much, but, it is what it is. He's athletic and he's going to be able to protect the rim for LeBron a little bit. He definitely gave the Warriors some good energy, so he's going to be able to throw up some lobs to him. So I think from a basketball perspective, this works. And while it's definitely not the best basketball fit we could have seen or the best basketball potential that we could have seen, because, we obviously could have seen something like LeBron to the Houston Rockets with Chris Paul and James Harden, which would obviously be a better team for stars, and then see him in Philadelphia with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. That would obviously be more star power and that kind of thing. The reason I think most people are not a fan of this deal is because of what it does immediately for LeBron's career. And I understand that because there's especially now, even had the Warriors not signed DeMarcus Cousins, I believe that there was absolutely no way the Lakers were going to win a championship this season. I thought at best they were probably going to make it to the conference finals, and that would be at best. More likely, I could see a scenario with them losing late in the second round, maybe in 6 or 7 games. But the reason that this also made a lot more sense to me was because even though I was initially disappointed, when I really thought about it, when I looked at the Lakers cap sheet and I realized what they were doing with this roster building process, what they're doing is they're signing a bunch of players to one-year deals to fill out the remainder of their cap room, such as Lance Stevenson signed to a one-year deal, Kentavious CaldwellPope signed to a one-year deal, Rajon Rondo signed to a one-year deal, JaVale McGee signed to a one-year deal. Basically, what this does is it opens the opportunity for the Lakers to either trade some of these one-year contracts for someone else, because most teams, when they're doing a deal and they have to do a deal for a lesser player, they want it to be someone who's A, not going to cost them a lot of money, which all these contracts do, and 2, someone who's not going to be there long term, which all of these contracts also do. So it makes these contracts really easy to trade and move, and it makes them really fluid because LeBron oftentimes at the trade deadline prefers to have some, flexibility and some things change up a little bit, or he's had his eye on a player throughout the first half of the season that he would like to make a move for if he sees that it's realistic. So I could definitely see at some point in the middle of the season, Rajon Rondo and Lance Stevenson potentially being moved to acquire someone like, I don't know, whoever he wants basically. If they're willing to do a deal. And then also what this does is when they take on contracts like this, what it does, and for LeBron in general, LeBron in the future now, with a place that has this much cap room and is signing people to short deals, he's always going to have enough. He's going to have enough cap room next offseason in the 1 year from now, basically. He's going to have an opportunity to recruit a lot of great players who obviously Los Angeles immediately has a draw to it because it's an excellent city. Playing with LeBron will have an immediate draw to it because you'll be a contending team that can possibly win a championship. And on top of that, you're also going to have Magic Johnson in the room when you're recruiting. So basically, when you're recruiting people to come play for your team, you're going to be the best organization that this league has ever seen, depending on what you think about with the Celtics, but whatever. The Lakers are the glitzy, more glamorous franchise that everyone loves and a lot of people dream of playing for, so you're going to have that on your side. You're going to have 2 of the 3 best basketball players to ever live on this planet in the same room recruiting you in Magic Johnson and LeBron James. And it's obviously going to be hard to turn down 2 of the 3 greatest basketball players of all time when they're sitting in front of you saying, come play, come be a part of us, come be a part of this greatness, do this, come with us, we'll take you to the promised land, all that stuff. And when you look at the free agents who are available next year, you have Kawhi Leonard is available next year. Klay Thompson is available next year. Both of those players are from Los Angeles. Kevin Durant is available next year. Jimmy Butler is available next year. When you have this much cap room and you can sign one of those players in the near future, what it does is it gives LeBron a player who's younger than him, someone who's between the ages of 27 and 29. Not so much necessarily with Klay Thompson and Jimmy Butler, but when you look at Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard, when you can sign one of those people to a deal long term in 2019, and they're currently either the second or third best player in the world. As LeBron ages, two of those people will become the best player in the world. Like Kevin Durant will probably be the next best player in the world, because I don't see anyone else, taking that from him, because Giannis needs more room before he becomes the best. He needs to learn how to shoot. He probably hasn't yet. Ben Simmons is going to need to learn how to shoot. That's probably going to take a long time. Joel Embiid is going to need to learn how to stay healthy and become more efficient, which is probably going to take a lot of time. So next in line to become the best player in the world is either probably Kawhi Leonard or Kevin Durant, because James Harden's game isn't going to be conducive to him staying around in the league for a lot longer. So, he's going to be tired out all the time. Russell Westbrook's athleticism is going to wane, and I don't think we ever thought that he would be considered the best player in the world. Steph Curry he's already 30, 31 years old or something. In next year, he's really only going to start declining at this point. He's not going to get any better. So Kevin Durant is 28, I believe, or 29 maybe. So he probably has a really good 3 to 4 years left, because he has a pretty ageless game to where, he's not really dependent on anything. He's not really injury prone like Steph Curry is. Kawhi Leonard also, he had this one bad year with injury, but I don't think any of us consider it injury prone. He's built well and stuff. So both of those players, both of these, Kawhi Leonard and Kevin Durant, probably going to be able to last for the foreseeable future, 3 to 4, basically until LeBron finishes his contract. So when they come next year, which I strongly believe at least one of them will come next year, and Kawhi might even be coming sooner through a trade that he might want to force and stuff like that. When you do that, you create this possibility for, as the Warriors get older and as it becomes more fatiguing for them to come, because I understand that they just signed DeMarcus Cousins, but if you really put it into perspective, he's just coming off an Achilles tear. He just signed for $5.3 million, and he's never had like a giant max deal or anything. So obviously he's taking a huge. Basically, I think that this signals that DeMarcus Cousins knows that an injury was probably the end of his career and the end of his opportunity to make a lot of money, and that's probably why he ended up signing for. That's probably why he wanted to win a championship, because he probably prioritized his legacy and being an NBA champion over money, which I don't really think makes sense, because if this is the end of your career, then you want to make as much money as possible. But regardless of what the case is, and regardless of the thought process that he had, even if DeMarcus Cousins is there, he's already suffered this devastating injury, and he's not going to be the same player. And then this would be this team's fifth road to the finals, fifth straight finals, which no team has ever done other than Bill Russell's Celtics. I believe. I think they made 5 in a row. No team has done that since then, and its fatigue is already catching up with them. They almost lost the series to the Houston Rockets. If it weren't for the injury of Chris Paul, we wouldn't even be in this situation right now. So I think that what LeBron is doing is he's going to the Lakers as a long-term play, because he knows that they have the cap room to make it such that he can probably win 2 more championships before he, goes to play his last year with his son, wherever that may be. So basically, in terms of his legacy, I actually really support this idea, because I don't think that there's any way, anyhow, that LeBron would have went there without 100% assurance that at some point while he was there winning at least one championship. And if he wins one more championship, I think that it becomes a lot easier to put him in this discussion against Michael Jordan, because he's won a championship in 3 different places. He went to the finals 8 straight times. He did this in 3 different jerseys. He only played for the franchise for 4 years, and he's by far the best player that ever played there. He has all these different things on his resume. So I understand where you're coming from as far as saying that, it is kind of annoying that, all these other franchises in the league have to go through these long, drawn-out rebuilding processes, and it's very difficult for them, and they have to suck, and their fans give up on them, like Orlando and, Minnesota for a long time, and Toronto for a little while, and all that stuff. And then the premier franchises in the league, like the Lakers and the Celtics, just get to have they just go through rebuilding for 2-3 years, and then they're immediately back on top. Like the last time the Lakers didn't make the playoffs was, I think, in 2014, and basically they missed for 3 years, and now here they are, or 4 years, and here they are. Yeah. So basically my thoughts on LeBron being a Laker are that I think it's great for him as a person. I think it's going to be great for him to set up the next stage of his life. He probably wants to learn a lot from Magic Johnson about being a business mogul. Can obviously talk to him about the game, going over film with probably the only other, you and Jordan are the top 2 players in NBA history, but to have the 3rd best player over there, that's going to be pretty sweet too, to be able to go film with him, have him guide you as you age and stuff, and, whatever it is. And then also it sets up his son because his son is probably going to be playing at Sierra Canyon High School alongside Scottie Pippen and Kenyon Martin's son, and that gives him the best opportunity to become an NBA player for LeBron to reach his ultimate goal, which is to play with his son one day. It also gives his wife, daughter, and other son a fantastic place to live. So basically what I think happened with LeBron is he thought about all these things. He thought about how it could be a long-term play to win while also making his family more comfortable and set himself up for his career after the NBA. So for all the reasons in the world, this move made sense. And I think it's unfortunate that it just wasn't as good of a basketball fit as some of us would have liked. Obviously, I think most people probably preferred Philadelphia because the idea of running the East with two young talents who can carry you in like 3 to 4 to 5 years, whatever it is a lot more appealing from a basketball perspective, and I agree with that. I would have preferred that from a basketball fan standpoint, but as a LeBron fan, I actually fully support his move to the Lakers because I think it's just going to be the best thing for his life, and it's much bigger than basketball, I think, for him. So that's ultimately why I supported him going to the Lakers. But, obviously, your opinion as to why you don't like it is obviously important to me as well, so I'm looking forward to hearing that.
Yeah, and I'm going to, well, I suppose it is taking the devil's advocate. I don't know where that it comes down, but yeah. Okay, well, buckle in, folks, because you've got a rant ahead of you, and it's not going to be pretty. So I'll start with my lead-in, I guess. Well, I thought April Fool's Day came 3 months late yesterday, or 9 months early. I'm not going to start that flame war, but to be honest, I was just distraught. I expected him to go to the Lakers, and I desperately didn't want him to, and I'm going to explain why, and I'll conclude by saying why it ultimately is the best move for LeBron as a person. Not best for his career, but best for his career, himself, and for life after basketball, and why, in some ways, he is justified in doing the move. But trust me, for at least 10 minutes, I'm going to talk about why I think that, well, it was just the worst possible move for someone like me as a LeBron fan, and for a lot of other ones as well. So, the biggest thing that I love about LeBron James is his performance for mid-market teams. That's the biggest thing that I like about him. If he had started his career with, well, the 76ers or the Celtics or the Lakers, I don't think I would have liked LeBron as much. There's something I've always really respected about LeBron, and the fact that he's just brought a bunch of cities that haven't had like a storied NBA history or history of having NBA championships, and he's given that to them. He turned the Cavaliers from a team that was woeful and was basically known for being the team that Michael Jordan made the shot over and scored 62 points against in an NBA playoff game. And he turned that into a contending team for a good 4-year stretch from 2006 to 2010. He made Big Z a real center. He turned Boobie Gibson and that other guy who, I don't know, raped his mom or something. I don't know what happened with that, but yeah. What was his name? Delonte West, I don't know. He was a creepy guy. Whatever. He played with a creepy guy. And he basically took him to the NBA Finals. And that was incredible. One of the most impressive playoff runs in NBA history, as we've talked about. So that was something that he did to start off his career. Obviously, after that, he made the decision, which I fully support in retrospect, and I think I would have supported it at the time as well. He was in a toxic culture in Cleveland, and he was playing for a horrible owner. And you've heard me talk about many times how much I hate horrible owners in sports. And yeah, it's just not a good situation when you're playing for a horrible owner and a GM that can't get any talent around you, and decent coaches, but nothing special. And yeah, you just have to move on at a certain point, and that's what he did. And all he got for that was a bunch of burnt up jerseys and batteries thrown in his head, and poor Tyronn Lue thinking he was going to die in the arena, and just a bunch of crap that he had to deal with, all because he wanted to make something more of his career. And that's what he did down in South Beach. So obviously, I'm not a fan of the whole spectacle he made out of it, but whatever. Make the most out of it that you can. That's what LeBron did. He's an entertainer ultimately, and that's what he does on the NBA court. So in South Beach, he brought together a bunch of his friends and in Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, and he made a really good team out of it. Obviously, he had the most crushing defeat in the NBA Finals against the Mavericks, ultimately almost solely on his hands. But that's the only time we can say that about LeBron, and that's a really cool thing. When every other year you talk about, when James Harden came up short in the NBA playoffs, or if only that's the only example I can think of. But yeah, James Harden, do better. But LeBron James, you can always expect consistency out of him, and that's what we got over the next 3 years with him against the Spurs in those amazing series against that Pacers team that nobody will ever forget for its mediocrity, yet winning 60 games and just randomly for some reason and taking the #1 seed. Those Miami Heat teams with LeBron were some of the most fun teams I've ever seen, and I remember watching those teams and watching LeBron James put up 63 points against the Hornets, and just it was incredible to watch. The person I would say the most athletic player in NBA history, just racing around the court, making incredible assists, making incredible shots, finally getting his 3-pointers down, something that he's really brought along in his late career. And yeah, he was an incredible player with the Miami Heat, and he really made Chris Bosh into a household name, something that obviously we've lost to this point. But yeah, those incredible series against the Spurs, his incredible performance to put Ray Allen in the position to make the shot of his life. And I mean, he completely deserved the win against the Spurs there. Not even going to touch on the Thunder series because it was kind of expected. And yeah, to lose in a crushing way to the Spurs in that next series that in 2013-14, obviously that's all the credit in the world to Greg Popovich and the Firmstead and the whatever the arena's called in San Antonio. That was a bit cheeky on his part, but whatever. And LeBron, sensibly, he went back to Cleveland. He realized the sour note that the whole decision one would be on his legacy, and he said, I'm willing to sacrifice a couple years of my career to repair the damage that was done by my owner and all the fans, and repair my image in my hometown. And I respect the hell out of him for that. I think that's amazing that he was willing to, quite honestly, sacrifice a good portion of his prime for only that. And I think that's the only way you can look at it. He didn't go back to Cleveland to win championships. Sure, he went back because he wanted to bring them a championship. But they didn't give him the best chance to win a championship, and I think that's something we definitely saw over the following years. Firing David Blatt and in return hiring Tyronn Lue, someone we often complain about as a below-average coach in the league. Having David Griffith and him doing a pretty good job, and firing him for Kobe Altman, a person who, well, he certainly doesn't even live up to Kobe's name, and that's saying a lot for someone who's not a fan of Kobe. So, LeBron, he brought the Cavaliers to the finals 4 straight seasons. Teams that, in his first year, was pretty good. They were solid, but it wasn't a team that was healthy at all. He brought a team that quite literally had its second best player as Tristan Thompson or Matthew Dellavedova after Kelly Olynyk and Kyrie Irving's ankles had something to say about it. And he brought the Warriors to 6 games in an incredible series that he went up 2-1. And I think you can make a good argument that was his most incredible finals performance ever. And, I mean, it sure was a shame that he couldn't close out, but, I mean, to go as hard as he does every year and to expect any more of him is, well, that's high expectations for you. But, yeah, that's what LeBron does, and it's incredible. And to come back the next year and have an amazing showing, that was awesome. To win the NBA Finals. And obviously people have their controversies around it. People worry about Draymond Green missing games. Stupid people worry about Andre Bogut missing the last 2 games. That's a bit ridiculous on the part of pundits that shall not be named. But nevertheless, LeBron played out of his mind. His teammates played out of his mind, and he managed to win an NBA Finals in one of the biggest upsets in NBA history, and that was absolutely incredible. If only because the NBA history isn't full of NBA upsets in the finals, at least, but he did that. And that's something that no one's ever going to be able to take away from him. He gave his hometown a championship, and that's unbelievable. So I salute LeBron for that. He sacrificed 4 years of his career, and he got all he could have asked for out of it. And in return, the ownership group completely screwed him over in this previous year, and it was basically all he could do to get them to the NBA Finals, and I hope it doesn't take away something from his later years, just how much energy he had to put into dragging the zombie-like Cavaliers past the Pacers in what was an incredible first-round series that we chronicled, to, beat up on the Raptors, but that always happens, and to, kind of run past the Celtics in an amazing Game 7 where no one could score any points, and LeBron James just turned it on, and to play well against the Warriors with a broken hand, against what many call the greatest team of all time, what we call the greatest team of all time, and to play not only respectably, play like the best player ever, to play like the MVP of that series against the best team ever, to nearly win Game 1 in one of the most what would have been likely the most shocking upset in a game in NBA history, at least in terms of the finals, and if not for, probably the most boneheaded play since either Steve Bartman with the Cubs, or I don't know, just there's really no parallels to what J.R. Smith did, and that's the kind of thing that LeBron's had to deal with throughout his career. Just incompetence from everyone around him, except for those years with the Heat. But, I mean, yeah, that's something that you get from the Cavaliers, and unfortunately, LeBron paid the price for it. He got one finals win, 3 finals losses, and nobody's ever going to give him credit for the fact that he was willing to take that. He was willing to do that to repair his legacy. So that was what LeBron did. He spent 6 years to start off his career in Cleveland. He went off to Miami for 4 years. Solid town, solid team, solid GM, great team overall to win 2 finals, lose 2 finals, unfortunately. Went back to Cleveland for 4 years to repair the damage done by the Decision 1, and he gave everything he had for the city. Now, after this past season, it was obvious that LeBron should move on from Cleveland. The team wasn't prepared to contend at all. Wow, we're 10 minutes in, and I haven't even touched on the free agency move this year. Okay, well, I mean, it was obvious that he needed to move on. The team had no talent. We talk about no talent, but, Kevin Love was it. You can make an argument for Tristan Thompson, but, he's nothing special. And, that was the entire roster right there, and the rest was below average bench players. Yeah, I know, below average bench players. That's a pretty low floor. And that's what he had to work with. Essentially no defense the entire time. And it only made sense that he was going to move on from Cleveland. So the biggest thing that I wanted out of LeBron heading into the NBA free agency, and I'm a big supporter of players' rights to choose where they want to play. I'm never going to be the the person that's going to criticize Kevin Durant for going to the Warriors, for criticizing Boogie Cousins for going to the Warriors. Because I think that players have every right to make their own choice, and they shouldn't be, yes, you're supposed to be held accountable, and you're not impervious to criticism, but you shouldn't have your jersey burned and have everyone swearing on your name or whatever and just being ridiculous about it. It's your choice, and you earned it by being good in the NBA. And what I wanted out of LeBron was to go to another mid-market team because I thought that was his legacy, that LeBron was going to be the player that built up a bunch of basketball cities that never had anything to going for them, maybe had a championship in their past, or maybe not in the case of Cleveland, and gave them 1 or 2, and made himself the best player in their history, as he did with the Heat, as he did with the Cavaliers. But unfortunately, that wasn't meant to be. I thought that the perfect team for him would have been the Nuggets, in this case, as a fellow mid-level team, a team that was positioned for, had a lot of potential in the form of Jokic and Will Barton, and even a bunch of veterans that he knew, Richard Jefferson, and one other person that I'm forgetting now, but I thought that they had a real chance of getting him, and I thought it was a perfect fit for his play style. I thought it was a perfect fit for what his legacy should be in my eyes. But that wasn't meant to be. What LeBron did instead was throw away the legacy of the mid-market player. What LeBron did instead was he chased the big market team, chased being the second, the third, the fourth fiddle on the history of the Los Angeles Lakers. And he said, it's more important for me to play where I can get recognition, to play where I can be in a big market than it is to, develop a big sports town. That's something that really saddens me because I had a whole career pictured out for LeBron. I had a career where he made the Cavaliers into something beautiful for a couple of years and made the Miami Heat into something respectable from, only one shock championship that they obviously shouldn't have won if the referees didn't have anything to say about it. If they had actually put their whistles in their pocket for once. And I thought he was going to do that with the Nuggets. I thought maybe he would go to the Spurs and do that, even though that would be kind of weird. But still, Spurs aren't a big market either. But he went to the Lakers. So I don't like the Lakers at all. In fact, I hate the Lakers. If the Lakers could be relocated, I would relocate the Lakers to Tuscaloosa or something. I don't know, just some random place. Where they're not in Los Angeles and they're not polluting the market with those sports fans. And I just don't like the Lakers. I don't like teams that always win and establish expectations of winning, because I think that it's a disgusting thing to expect to just have high expectations and expect to win the championship every year. I just think it's gross. And that's why I don't like the Lakers. I don't like winning 16 championships. And not that I want you to rest on your laurels, but I don't want you going out there and being like, no, we have no talent and we don't have a good owner. And, they have a good owner now and a good GM now, but even when they didn't. And just being like, no, we should still be able to win championships because we're the Lakers. And that means something. And God, no, it doesn't. And you're no different than every other team. And the only reason that you succeed is because everyone else buys into the bull crap and buys into the fact that you're the Lakers. And there is a lot of credit to the fact that the Los Angeles is the biggest, the entertainment capital of the world. But that doesn't supersede everything else, as every NBA player seems to think. So LeBron chased that, and in return, I don't feel like I can root for LeBron in the next couple of years. It's going to be a dark period for me and my LeBron enjoyment. I'm still going to view him as the best player of all time, but he's not going to be someone that I'm going to root for. I'm not going to, like the Cavaliers, hope that they can make the NBA Finals. I'm going to hope that they don't. I don't want LeBron to succeed now because I don't want the Lakers to succeed, and for Magic Johnson to be right to do this ridiculous situation where he just puts no talent on the court. Well, he did end up putting some talent, but he certainly wasn't trying to put talent on the court for the past 2 years. He was trying to make enough salary cap room so that he would be able to just sign 2 max level extension players, and not max level extension, just max contract players this season, and have a big free going into the next season. And just in terms of the Lakers' outlook, I'm pretty happy with how it's looking for the Lakers in the respect that I don't think it's going to go as well as you think it does. I don't think that Kawhi Leonard's going to the Lakers. I think that Popovich, R.C. Buford, and their owner would be out of their mind to trade Kawhi Leonard to the Lakers. People seem to think that you have to trade a player if he wants out of a team. You don't. What's the player going to do? Is he going to sit out another year?
Kawhi Leonard said he would. He did that.
Kawhi Leonard already did that. To a certain point, Adam Silver is going to force him to play. God knows how he would do it. But Adam Silver isn't going to let some players sit on the sidelines if he's able to play just for nothing. Greg Popovich would stand in the way at a certain point. And, I mean, if his reputation is already damaged, you might as well try and force something out of Kawhi Leonard as the disgruntled player. What Kawhi Leonard's doing right now is disgusting. And barring, I don't know, something coming out and being like, oh, I don't know, Greg Popovich was evil or something, he was using dark arts, and R.C. Buford was manipulating me into doing mean things, which I don't think is the case at all. I think Kawhi Leonard just wanted more recognition and wanted more time in the spotlight. And I don't think that's something he deserved. He's an amazing player, sure, but based on his personality, he did it to himself. He decided to be the quiet player, and sure, you can talk about his dad dying and all that, but dude, it's been 3 years. I mean, I'm not saying get over it, but I mean, you have to move on, and you have to, if you want something, you have to take it. I'm a big believer in that. I think it's a bitchy thing to just be like, I want to be the I don't know, they be in the sidelines, be in the shadows, and be super quiet and dark and ominous, but also be super popular and be in the spotlight and be in all the commercials and get all the best Jordan deals and whatnot. I don't think that's something that he deserves based on how he's acted. And I certainly don't think it is now, and I think it's a real shame that he's going to become a lot more popular because of, well, his antics this year, and that's a big shame. So I'm really hoping that Greg Popovich doesn't reward that. I'm hoping that he keeps him on the team and not screws him over, but he just teaches him a lesson and says, I don't care what you want. You're on a team. You signed a contract. You're stuck with us, so you might as well make the most of it, Kawhi. So that's what I'm hoping happens, and I think that's what's going to happen. I'd be amazed if, unless he goes in there, like he threatens them or something and says, like, I don't know, I'm going to be like Bobby Portis and punch out the team and, like, break Manu Ginobili's leg or something if you don't trade me, which obviously he'd get arrested if he did that. But yeah, you get the point. Like, I don't see any scenario where Kawhi Leonard ends up on the Lakers. Or I guess I could see him going to the East, but that's it. And that would be interesting, actually, if he went to the 76ers or something. That'd be fascinating to watch that battle between the 76ers and Celtics, but that's beside the point. So I don't think that LeBron's going to get a big second fiddle here. He's not getting Paul George, obviously. That didn't happen. And nobody's left on the free agent market at this point. I mean, who do you want? Like, Rondo was pretty much the best option left at this point. So, okay, you have Rondo. You have Lonzo. You have Brandon Ingram. You have JaVale McGee. That's pretty much it. And, I mean, sure, Julius Randle, but there's not a lot to this Lakers team, and there's obviously sky expectations, and that's what I hate about this the most. The expectations for the Lakers are only they're at the highest they ever have been, and they're only going to get higher now because LeBron James is on the Lakers, and the Lakers fans are going to expect championship after championship because they feel like they're entitled to it, and that disgusts me. And not only that, but that the Celtics are positioned to be the best player in the East, which sets up for my least favorite NBA Finals matchup in sports, the Lakers-Celtics. Obviously the best for the NBA, but my least favorite because I feel like the least is gained from it in terms of the legacy. So that's how I feel about that. And yeah, I think that LeBron. So I suppose I should give why. In a lot of ways, LeBron did make the correct decision here for him. So, obviously, LeBron is someone that cares deeply about his public image. And he's someone that cares deeply about being a successful business person along with being a successful NBA player. Being in a big market does give him the best chance to do that. And I think it is important for him that he takes advantage of the opportunity when it's presented to him here. So, instead of having the media flock to him, he's now gone to the media. And honestly, I'm a little concerned that we're going to get a bit of LeBron James overload with him being in Los Angeles and just available to anyone who wants to make a commercial around him. But I think that's something that we're definitely going to have to deal with. But yeah, that's going to be interesting. I think it sets his family up great. I mean, obviously the Cleveland school system isn't the best. It coming from someone who's going to university in Cleveland, but obviously primary and secondary schools aren't exactly something to write home about, but if you can write. But yeah, I think that his family's much better off if they're in Los Angeles. I think that his son is going to be in a fantastic situation playing alongside Scottie Pippen's son and the other guy. I don't really know who it was, but yeah, I'm just saddened by it, and hopefully it goes well for LeBron, but I think he's also going to lose one of his biggest legacy points in his final streak. I don't see any way he makes the finals this season. Frankly, if he does, then, I mean, if he does against this Warriors team, but no, I don't see any way he makes it. I think it was a smart move to go to the West, but to a certain point, it would have been cool for him to have been the player who stayed in the East his entire career and just dominated the East and kept it down. And I think it was a relatively easy argument to make that it was because of him that the East was bad, not that he was just beating up on the East. And yeah, that I think that's about all I have. I mean, I wish him the best. I never want ill of LeBron. I just want ill of the Lakers. I don't know. Maybe he has like the best season ever next year, and just everyone around him is horrible. But obviously, that's just another Cavaliers situation, and that'll be disgusting. Not disgusting. That'll just be disappointing to see. And that's my biggest problem with this. The best case scenario is the worst case scenario for LeBron. There's no good way this ends for me, and that's a shame. But I suppose LeBron is in a good position for the rest of his career here. I definitely agree with you. He'll stick around for the 4 years with the Lakers and eventually spend 1 year with whatever team drafts his son, and maybe even spend another year after that. I would love to see him play until he was 39. That'd be really cool, and really make a push for the all-time minutes record and break Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record for that. But yeah, I mean, it just sucks for me, and it'll take some time for me to get used to it and get accustomed to seeing him in purple and gold, and yeah, I'll see how the transition goes for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I think that definitely takes the cake for the longest monologue we've had. I think that was 24 minutes. Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I understand where you're coming from as well. I mean, like I said, I definitely would have preferred for him to go to the Philadelphia 76ers simply because basketball-wise and just, they're not the Lakers, but they're also at the same time not the Cavs. So I think that would have worked out fine for him, and he chosen to do that instead. But now I think that I feel like we're really just kind of talking about something that doesn't even matter because DeMarcus Cousins is 27, Klay Thompson is 28, Draymond Green is 28, Kevin Durant is 29, and Steph Curry is 30. So in an ideal world for the Warriors, DeMarcus Cousins is able to become 60% of the player that he was. They get him this 1 year cheap. They re-sign him to a deal after this. And then they retain Kevin Durant, who opts into his player option. And then they re-sign Klay Thompson for cheaper because he said he wants to stay there. They could legitimately have this core for like 3 years, 4 years, with everyone still being relatively in their prime. LeBron James would never reach another NBA Finals. And that would probably be the most tragic thing to ever happen if LeBron James somehow never made it to another NBA Finals. And because we all know that it would be premature if that happened, because if he wasn't able to make it to a Finals, like my guess for what LeBron will average next year will probably be like 26 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds. Maybe something lower than that just because he's been doing it the past 2 years. Maybe he'll have 25 points, 7 assists, and 7 rebounds. Basically, like the whole DeMarcus Cousins to the Warriors thing definitely puts this into perspective. So basically, here's my thought process now is that, one, I think that if Greg Popovich truly, I understand what he's doing in terms of holding out on the league. Like, I'm not holding out on, like, I know why he doesn't want to trade Kawhi to the Spurs. I completely understand that. But in my personal opinion, I think that at this point, he has to make a deal with either the Lakers or the Celtics because they're the only team those are the only two options that could even give the Warriors any semblance of competition. And when it comes between those two teams, because I think Greg Popovich is deep down as well. Like, since he's retiring in 2 years, which he's made public that he wants to go till 2020 and then he'll call it a wrap.
I didn't know that. Huh.
Oh, yeah. That's apparently he wants to call it quits after 2022. He only wants to coach for 2 more years.
Oh, that sucks.
So, yeah, no, it's a shame. But what I was thinking is that I think Greg Popovich, I feel like deep down as a basketball fan, like just like every other legitimate basketball fan, hates to see what's happening in Golden State. Because to me, like you said, the whole thing that this is disgusting, like when you were talking about like what you feel about the Lakers and Kawhi Leonard sitting out, that's genuinely how I feel about DeMarcus Cousins choosing to play there. Because he knows that he's going to go there, they're going to win the championship, he'll have a championship, and then after that he can leave. Like, he only gets to play half the season, so he only gets to play half the year, he gets his ring, and then he gets to sign somewhere else when he's healthy for more money. So, I mean, it's crazy that he's there, and it's really just absurd that I just can't even believe it. So what I think that Greg Popovich, honestly, for the sake of the NBA, I feel like he should really consider just giving Kawhi to a team that can actually have a chance to dethrone Golden State, because I think that if I think Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James would probably be the best, 1-2 punch in NBA history. And I don't think that they could. If DeMarcus Cousins is 100% a shell of himself, then LeBron and Kawhi have a chance to beat them. Or he could trade Kawhi to the Celtics, where you have Kyrie, Tatum, Brown, Horford, and Kawhi, and then you have a chance to beat him there as well, because you also have Brad Stevens up there who can, definitely figure something out. So I don't know. I think Kawhi is definitely going to have to be moved, because I truly believe that he's the only piece in the NBA at this point that can be moved, that can make a difference to what's going on in Golden State. And he also, obviously, I hate that he did this as well, but apparently he did threaten to sit out a year if he's traded to anywhere other than the Lakers. So, I mean, yeah, and I guess, I mean, he can find like a small cleanup surgery to get, and then just say that he's not ready to go back yet, because that's allowed. If you have a surgery, then you don't have to come back until you're feeling ready, I think, because that's the same thing that Kyrie Irving threatened to do when wanting to be moved from Cleveland. So I don't know. I mean, honestly, at this point, I'm just thinking of maybe even taking a year off from the NBA until the next offseason, because it would really just be atrocious to have to watch this entire year just for and I just read a tweet that said, dynasties are great when it's about individual greatness and people coming together to figure something out, but it feels very different, and it just doesn't feel the same way when you're talking about unfairly stacking the deck and just getting absolutely everything you can. So I feel really upset right now. I think you've been able to tell that I just haven't been nearly as engaged ever since we found out about DeMarcus Cousins. But I just think that really something needs to happen, because I think the only way that in an ideal world, I would have had Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and LeBron on the same team, even if it is the Lakers, just because I think that would be a great series, and that would be the only way to even combat what's going on in Golden State. Things are just going to be crazy next year, and I don't know if I want to sit around and watch it.
Yeah, and as you pointed to, a lot of people are going to be blaming DeMarcus Cousins right now and saying that he's a horrible person or whatever for chasing a ring. But again, I come back to the league, and I say that the league is doing this to themselves. They refuse to change a system that's designed around teams forming big threes and conglomerating superstar talent. And the league has, for basically its entire history, been designed around having one or two really big teams that just dominate the rest of the competition and prevent any sense of parity in the league. And that's how it's always been. And at this point, as time goes on, the extremes just get more extreme, the rich just get richer, and that's what's happened with the Warriors. And I think the league is getting its comeuppance here, and it really has to take a strong look at how it sets up free agency, how it sets up the salary cap, and it needs to take a really hard look at changing it, because I think most of the NBA at this point is sick and tired of a system where you just have one or two teams that are competitive, and going into the season, okay, it'll be the Celtics or the Lakers or the Warriors in the NBA Finals, and that's basically it. And there's essentially no reason to watch the regular season, which is why I never watch the regular season. And it's not fair to all the real NBA fans out there that want to watch 82 games in a season and feel like they're all meaningful when they're not. And it's just not fair to them. And I think it's long overdue that Adam Silver actually acts and puts some of his words into action and does something about the problem of parity in the NBA. Do I have a suggestion for him for what he could do? No, I don't, because I think that we need some real change here, and I think it's something that may actually happen, because I think this is getting to the point of not the point of no return, but the point where we could be looking at a situation where the Warriors win 6 championships in a row, barring injury, of course, but just a situation where it's not watchable. And to a certain point, people love greatness. But when the greatness doesn't go away and it just keeps getting greater and greater, and it just feels like a known commodity, it's just like, okay, why am I watching the regular season? I'll just turn this off and turn on when the conference finals start, when it gets interesting. And I don't think that's good for the league. And I think that they really need to do something about it if they want to do something, just fix the league, basically. I think that the NFL is going really good right now because it has amazing parity. If you look at like the NFC East in the NFL, any team could win it any year. And like you just don't know. Like you could name like 7 different teams that could win the NBA, and not the Super Bowl in a year. The Eagles, the Packers, the Giants, if they actually got their crap together, the Cowboys, I'm trying to think of some other example, the Seahawks, the Falcons, the Saints, even the Panthers. Like I just named 8 teams that have just as good of a chance as any other to make the Super Bowl, and obviously the Patriots in the other league. But in the NBA, could you name 3 teams? I don't think, we're not even talking about the Lakers having a real chance next year of making the NBA Finals. There's like 2 teams, and it's the Celtics and the Warriors, and that's going to be the NBA Finals, and the Warriors are going to win, and that's how it's going to go. Barring injury, of course, but nobody wants a league where parity is dictated on injury. That's not fun. And
also, DeMarcus Cousins apparently, like just to go off of basically what we're talking about, DeMarcus Cousins, prior to signing his deal with the Warriors, apparently his alternative, like his other choice was the Celtics. So he could have signed, he was basically choosing between the Celtics and the Warriors. So, I mean, it just goes to show that, like, what it does, because if he had signed with the Celtics, then things would be interesting because you'd have Kyrie, Hayward, Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, DeMarcus Cousins versus Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, etc. But, it's crazy, man.
And you're not going to like that I'm going to say this, but I don't think that's any better. I mean, just the Celtics now dominating the East instead of the West.
Right. It's like the reason for me is that like what I would prefer, like you can't like make a rule against this, but like I don't know what I feel like they should at the next time that they redo the CBA or something, they should make something that's like you cannot you may not sign new players to you cannot sign a player who has been like basically something that makes it like you can't have more than 2 All-Stars, right? That way it's like, because like if you think about how many stars we have in the league, like we probably have like 20 great players, right? And then like if you split them across and then the maximum you can have is 2 each, right? Then like it's like it just makes all the top teams like better because are closer, right? Because then you would have all the greatest players, right? Like, can you imagine a scenario, right, where like you have LeBron is commandeering his own team, Durant is commandeering his own team, Kawhi is commandeering his own team, Steph is commandeering his own team, Harden is commandeering his own team, and then you have the lesser players, right, who aren't as good, such as then you have Westbrook and maybe let's say Julius Randle are together, right, and then Anthony Davis has his own team, and then DeMarcus Cousins and Gordon Hayward have their own team or something like that. Then it's even teams that are led by the one superstar player have such a good chance of competing against the teams that have 2 because of how good they are. Because LeBron, for example, right? If Steph and KD weren't on the Warriors and it was just Klay Thompson and Draymond Green with the Warriors versus LeBron and the Cavs, then LeBron can probably easily win that series because him individually is better than Klay and Draymond, right? So if there was anything that they could do to initiate a rule or something that says that you can't sign any more than 2 All-Stars, or you can't have I don't know how to say it formally, but it would be no team may sign more than 2 players who have been named an All-Star within the last 2 years or something like that, right? Because that way it makes it such that every team has to either bring in and develop its own talent, and then you get more naturally grown stuff like Golden State when they won the 2015 NBA Finals, and I'm trying to think of another situation where a championship was organically grown, but I really can't think of one. But yeah, so I think that they should really explore something like that says that you can't have more than 2, and then you go from there, right? Because I think the league would be extremely interesting if Draymond Green and Kevin Durant played together somewhere else, and then the Warriors were just stuck with the Splash Brothers, who they've always had, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. It would just be really cool if it was done that way, but obviously, we're going to have to wait for a long time before this league actually gets straightened out, at least until next year, because this year is basically done.
Yeah, and obviously I'm never going to be a fan of extreme action. I would be much more into something I don't know, if you made an All-NBA team or in the past 3 years, or if you made an All-Star game in the past 2 years, then you can't sign for less than like $20 million and like just create a salary floor for each player in that respect so that something like this can't happen. And like the Warriors would actually be capped out. Like they wouldn't be able to sign DeMarcus Cousins because I think that's the general idea here. Is just everyone feels like they're cheated because it's like, oh, DeMarcus Cousins snuck under the cap by taking less money, and I don't. That's something that's not talked about often enough. That taking less money is a dirty thing in the NBA and like just all sports. And everyone's like, oh, Tim Duncan, he took less money for the Spurs. Isn't he a good guy? Or look at Tom Brady, he's taking less money for the Patriots. And that's really cool. But this is what happens when you take less money. You get players consolidated on teams that just become unbeatable. And unfortunately, that's what the Warriors seem to be. And it's a dark day for the NBA, and I look forward to when parity returns. But I think that's about where we should close out our season final of the NBA as we look out as the sun sets on, well, not really sunsets, more like midnight at this point with the NBA. We've had the same finals 4 years in a row, Cavs, Warriors. LeBron's moved on. The Warriors have gotten stronger. The East is wide open. And we look forward to, well, I don't know. I suppose we'll see. So, we appreciate you all following us through this whole series we've done on the NBA. It's essentially week-by-week breakdown of what's happened, going from a mid-season All-NBA list, breaking down every team at the All-Star break, to, well, doing our final recap. Talking about LeBron's legacy and our outlook on the NBA in the future. So we appreciate you listening, and we'd really appreciate it if you went on iTunes or whatever podcasting player you use, give us a rating, hit us up for a review, maybe talk about what your thoughts are for the NBA in the future, what your suggestion would be to fix it. Who knows, maybe Adam Silver will see it and change it. It's not going to happen, but you never know. So yeah, we really appreciate it. And you know what? Even if we don't see you next year for the NBA season, you got plenty more to look forward to on this podcast. I say goodbye, Rod.
Goodbye, everyone. It was a pleasure talking about the NBA for all this time. We'll see where it goes. Might not be an NBA next year, given what DeMarcus Cousins is doing, but we'll see.
Yeah, we appreciate it, and see you all.